Meanwhile, back at the Hall of Justice, our mild-mannered podcasters were bombarded by gamma rays, bitten by radioactive bugs, mutated by toxic waste, irradiated with cosmic rays, born into a world that doesn't understand them.
First issue. Limited edition. Very Second printing. Talking comic.
Hello, everybody. It's
Bitten by
Tuesday.
radioactive bugs,
Oh,
mutated by toxic waste, irradiated.
so the stream started playing in my head. that was weird. We're hearing a delay of our own self-talking. So it is Tuesday, September 9th, 2014, and you are listening to the Talking Comics podcast. I am your host, Bobby Shortle, and I'm in the house with Steve Say,
Happy milestone anniversary.
Mr. Bob Ryer,
150 is a pretty good number.
Stephanie Cook,
Hey, hey, hey.
and joining us, Mr. Joey Braccino.
Hello.
Hello. So this is the 150th episode of the Talking Comics podcast. We are broadcasting live right now via YouTube, Google Hangouts. So if you guys are listening to this the next day, you missed it. But
Where were you?
Not live.
not live. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for those listening live. If you guys have comments or questions, please send them in. Leave comments on the website, on Twitter, whatever Stephanie is going to be monitoring for us, so those things will come up. We have a cavalcade of people to come on the
Ooh,
show
nicely put.
tonight.
Wow.
We have a lot of contributors for Talking Comics, some voices you've heard before, some new voices. We have some listeners calling in as well.
Uh-oh.
Um,
This is your life.
we have the show pretty tightly planned, but if things run a little bit short or we have some extra time, maybe we'll throw the number out there and people can call in on the fly.
All right.
So we don't have a lot of time. So we have Joey here for just a scant 15 minutes. Really, Joey is with us. So we're going to do our lightning round, which is kind of the perfect amount of time to do the lightning round in for us. And Joey, I think you're going to start out.
Yes.
Your
Oh,
first
wow.
your first ever lightning round. First
Sure.
ever. Let me get my
Hunker down, buddy.
Oh my God.
my custom lightning round stopwatch here.
This is how I learned to swim. My uncle threw me in the deep end.
Flashbacks, little PTSD for you, Joey.
Trauma.
All right, so here we go. Lightning round, Joey, go.
Okay. So this first book that I'm going to talk about actually comes out tomorrow, tomorrow, because we're live on Tuesday. So tomorrow, it's called Teen Dog from Boom Studios by Jake Lawrence, who has done it as a web series on his Tumblr, which I pulled up, is called timecowboy.tumblr.com. Teen Dog is about a teenage dog in high school.
What?
Yeah, it's insane. And it's like everything you loved about the 90s and kind of the 80s too. It's very clearly influenced by like The Breakfast Club and stuff like that.
I
Plus,
thought you were going to say Teen Wolf.
no. Apparently it was like a spoof of Teen Wolf when he came up with it, but it's gone in a completely different direction. It's kind of like, imagine an anthropomorphic dog wearing sunglasses and a denim vest who acts like the Fonz.
It sounds
In
like
high
Poochie
school
from the
in the
Simpsons.
90s. It's incredible. Very clearly, it's cartoony. It's kind of like Daria in terms of the aesthetic. Each page is kind of like a little vignette, and I'm assuming it takes place in the 90s because everyone has, side ponytails, denim vests, and high tops. And when Teen Dog touches people, it launches into this like third eye, trippy kind of thing, and it goes into every character that he touches is like, I saw every possible future and every possible past in the blink of an eye. It's very lighthearted, it's very fun, and it's a teenage dog who loves pizza and can talk. So it's comes up tomorrow by Jake Lawrence from Boom Studios. It's an 8-issue miniseries, I think, and I don't think it's a compilation of the web series stuff. I think it's all original material, which is very cool. 2. How long was that? That was like a minute.
You got a
right?
minute
You have a minute left.
Oh my God. Okay. So because of life and because I'm a teacher and school's been starting up, I haven't been able to read a lot of new stuff. But what I read over the last couple of weeks were 2 Marvel Now series that I didn't read when they were getting released, which were the X-Men Legacy, Cy Spurrier, and Dennis Hopeless's Avengers Arena.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, really enjoyed those. And I think I especially enjoyed them because I read them like back to back to back, kind of as a whole story. I don't know what it would have been like to read month to month, but I really enjoyed those series. I liked that they were about kind of younger, lesser-known characters. I love those characters and those stories because they feel fresh and new, and they were great. And I think they really worked as the series that they were. So, how much time do I have?
Awesome. You have 7 seconds left, Joey. So you nailed it.
And congrats on 150! Yay!
Thank you, Joey.
Thank you very much. There we
That's
go.
awesome.
Oh, it's very low today.
It is very low.
It's like a radar.
Well, it's very forgiving for the
It's
anniversary.
for the anniversary. We're being nicer.
It's usually raucous.
Yeah. I'm putting on some other. I'm gonna pick a new timer sound for
Oh,
every
boy.
person.
I
So
can always make special effects, or Bob could do it.
who knows? Yeah, who knows what it's gonna sound like? All right. So let's go to the master of the lightning round, Mr. Bob Ryer.
You looked at me for a
No,
second.
I was like,
What? No.
All right. Lightning round, Bob. Your 3 minutes are set. Go.
First up, X Factor 13, Peter David. Lorna drops some real big knowledge on the Serval CEO Harrison Snow. You get Pietro and his daughter Luna reconnecting in a day trip to Colonial Williamsburg, and then Lockjaw shows up, and Gorgon, and it's bad family drama. This book just gets better every month. I was suspicious, but it's just great. She-Hulk number 8, Charles Soule, Javier Pulido is back. Jen's biggest case to date has to do with a legacy of Captain America story. He's now 90, and it's something from his past. And she'll be up in court against... Dun, 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 dun. Spoiler? Nah, I won't tell anybody. Ha! Read the book. Thanks to Stephanie, who reminded me last week about Velvet coming out, number 7.
Nice.
Or is it number 6? Number 6. Number 7 comes out this week. I picked up the trade, which is Before the Living End, which is the first 5 issues, short of all the essays. But it's just great. Velvet Templeton, you know, she's the boss's secretary, the executive secretary of the director of the agency, only she's much more modesty blaze than Miss Moneypenny. Just really super seeing, especially a reasonably aged character, reasonably normal build and everything else. Just a great series if you love spy stuff, which got me thinking about all this sort of stuff and where it began. So it's the Honey West commemorative issue, which has a story by Trina Robbins and Cynthia Martin. The Honey West novels began in the late 50s by, and now I can't read my own writing, it is Georgia and Forrest Fickling. When they wrote them as G.G. Fickling, wrote 12 novels of Honey West, sort of as the female Mike Hammer. Most people are familiar, though, with the 66 TV series with Anne Francis and her little ocelot Bruce. But there's a lovely 2-part story in here by Trina, which is set up in the swinging 60s, and it's a go-go club and illegal drugs and murder and all that sort of good stuff.
Who's the artist on that?
Cynthia Martin.
Really, really nice art.
Right. So then once I'm in that sort of vein, and having just mentioned Modesty Blaze, I picked up a really lovely trade paperback from Titan. They're doing all these. Modesty Blaze started in 1963. It's Peter O'Donnell and Jim Holdaway, I believe is how we pronounce this. And Modesty Blaze was a movie in the 60s, is one fairly recently. She is based really, I guess, Kathy Gale from the Avengers, but a criminal background, becomes an operative, runs capers that help the British Commonwealth and all their goodness. And if Steve was looking at this, there's no question that Velvet is based on Modesty Blaze. I mean, her attitude, and again, it's the 60s, so lots of smoking and beating up and karate and whatever, but it is absolutely spot on the inspiration. So if anyone love Velvet, pick up some Modesty Blaze. There are like 18 volumes of this.
Awesome, Bob. 5 seconds.
Yes.
Bob always nails it every single time. He doesn't even look at the clock either, so it's very. Bob also got a very light tone for his buzzer.
Aw.
I'm just picking whatever comes up. So
We did like the James Bond theme or something, or maybe the Avengers would have been nice.
All right, Stephanie, you ready?
I am.
Okay. Lightning round, go.
this is going to be easy because I've only read one thing because I've been away. So the thing I'm going to talk about is The Empty Man from Boom Studios. So I was going to talk about this last week, but I got sidetracked with other things, not shockingly. Anyways, this is a book about a disease that's going around. People are getting really sick. They don't understand why they're getting sick. People are basically going crazy and just committing suicide. And they don't really, they can't figure out what kind of virus is infecting it. And the disease itself is called the Empty Man, and no one really understands where the name came from. It just all of a sudden started being referred to as the Empty Man. People would go crazy, and it was the Empty Man. So
Jazz hands.
there was, and there's like a theory that the disease named itself, and that it's kind of just maybe more than just a disease. And this first issue is creepy as heck. It's Cullen Bunn and Vanessa Del Rey. And, you know, it starts out as kind of what's going on, what's making these people sick. There's people investigating. I think it's the CDC, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. They're looking for somebody who's sick that's left the quarantine zone, so that person is potentially infecting other people. And along the way, they discover that this disease might actually be something far more sinister. And that is the big, you know, dun 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 that comes. So I won't tell you what that may or may not be, but it was a really incredible first issue with just fantastic art and a really interesting premise that, you know, kind of takes Contagion to a whole new level of creepy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if any of you guys read it or not, but
I did. It's terrifying.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And again, without spoiling anything, that last page is just like, what? No. So I picked up the second issue while I was at Baltimore Comic-Con this weekend, and I intended to read it today, but then I slept all day. So,
How many?
Life, man.
How many issues of this will there be?
as far as I know, it's ongoing.
Yeah, I think
Oh.
it's ongoing. Yeah.
So there's 2 issues out so far, and I think the third comes out. Oh wait.
The
No,
third's
there's
out.
more than that, yeah.
The third's at least out.
Okay. So never mind. The second issue that I have here says 2 of 6.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
the
okay.
first one says number 1, which led me to believe it was ongoing, but number 2 says it's limited.
All right.
Hmm.
I think it'll be a good. That's good as limited, though. I think.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I think there's only so much you can do with what they've
Ooh.
given us.
Time up.
Isn't? Can I ask a question though? Ooh,
Oh,
I've
wait,
got an
Bob.
echo. There's an echo coming. Besides that, isn't Vanessa Del Rey that teenage singer?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Isn't she?
That's Lana Del Rey.
Lana
Lana
Del
Del
Rey.
Rey. Well, at least it's not Vanessa Del Rio.
I'm hip
was
to
just
what the
letting
high
him-
school kids are listening
I was letting
to
them have it,
this.
guys.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh man. All right.
That teenage singer.
That's
Yeah.
that teenage singer.
Get off
That's
my
a pop
lawn.
star.
Oh man.
I still have a Victrola at home. What are we talking about?
Bob,
Do you
you're
really?
my favorite.
All right, Steve, you ready for some lightning round?
I'm ready.
All right, Steve, lightning round. Go.
First lightning round book is Hawkeye vs. Deadpool #1 from Jerry Dugan and Matteo Lolli. It's Halloween, and Deadpool is off trick-or-treating with his friends in Hawkeye's neighborhood, and wouldn't you know it, there's shenanigans about. In the streets, kids everywhere, tons and tons of costumes to check out, both in the Marvel classic movie monsters and even the DC realm of comics. If you look closely, you will find the Scarecrow, you'll find Man-Bat, you'll see all manner of kids and adults alike running around portraying their favorite characters. But there's one guy in the street who is he's very upset, and he runs over to Deadpool and he hands him some shitty coconut candy, and lo, there is a thumb drive inside that contains some pretty nasty information that both he and Hawkeye, after running into one another within the neighborhood, have to decide what to do with it. They have a disagreement about the information and decide that it's round 1 fight. Book is great. I really enjoyed it. It takes elements from both Fraction's Hawkeye and Deadpool's Dugan's Deadpool and kind of throws them in a blender and mixes up the humor and presentations. It's really over the top and silly, and brings like I think like a smattering of Rick Remender's Deadpool from Uncanny X-Force, of that he's willing to sacrifice himself for others, and he has kind of this sensibility about him that you don't always see underneath like all the jokes and all the like all the crazy stuff that he does. He's willing to put himself in front of others to keep them from harm, which is one of the most endearing things I think about his character. And the other book that I read that I really enjoyed was Death of Wolverine from Charles Soule and Steve McNiven. That making me nervous with that. So here's the deal: Wolverine, as you know, he's dying, and the word is out, and pretty much everybody that has ever had a beef with Wolverine is coming after him. So he decides, rather than having everybody else, get in the wake of all this, he's going to go off to a remote island and put the word out and say, if you want to come and get me here, away from, people and other heroes and whatnot, and just deal with me. The first one to show up is a villain by the name of Nuke. They duke it out, and it's basically just going to be, I guess, fight after fight, and the final days of Wolverine. Really, really enjoyed the art from Steve McNiven, and Charles Soule has a really, really good sense of who Wolverine is, and has really created a kind of an air about the book that you really feel like these are Wolverine's final days. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the run, see how it all ends up, and I had more to say, but I think I'm out of time.
You are out of time.
Boom.
Perfect.
Done.
4 seconds. Awesome.
Wow.
Let's see what this one is.
Hey!
Oh.
Death of Wolverine.
No, I can't stop it. It's frozen.
Your encapsulated future chicken is done.
All right. So we're clipping along here. Now it's just me left. Just my lightning round left. Lightning round me. Go. All right. So really quickly, Grayson Futures End #1. So DC has begun its Futures End month of books, and I gotta tell you, I read the Earth 2 one, and I opened it up and I forgot that that's what the hook was, that it was 5 years later. And so I was like, what the hell is going on in this book? Did I miss
an issue?
Exactly. And then I was like, oh, right, it's 5 years later. So then I enjoyed that issue. That was fine. But Grayson was really cool because it's a brand new book, so there's not really a lot to draw from. And they do kind of a cool memento type of thing where it starts at the latest point and goes back to the earliest point. Like, it goes all the way back to like Grayson as Robin, Dick Grayson as Robin. So it's a really, really cool book. The Names by Peter Milligan, and it's we had a question about this last week, I believe, and I read it, and it's cool.
I read that today. It was a little.
It's weird and intense. I like the main character. I think that it's an interesting kind of reverse take on the victim scenario. So I think I'm going to give it another chance. I wasn't blown away by it, but I did really like it a lot. And I just want to hop on to two of the books that Steve mentioned as well, Hawkeye versus Deadpool and The Death of Wolverine, which are two of my favorite books of the week, really. I thought Hawkeye versus Deadpool did a really great job, like you said, of capturing those two things.
Yeah.
I loved kind of like the Aja type page near the end where it's kind of doing the pizza dog thing and Deadpool is commenting on the panel structure.
Yeah.
Thought that was really, really funny and entertaining. And Death of Wolverine, I gotta say, I haven't been reading any Wolverine stuff.
Neither have I.
I picked it up to, just know what was going on and see what it was like. And in spite of the $5 price tag, which is too much because most of the book is supplemental material and not an actual comic book, the art is absolutely gorgeous. And I think the story is really interesting. Obviously, we know it's not going to be a full-time thing, Wolverine being gone forever. But
spoiler guy, you.
Sorry, but I do think the story that they're writing is really interesting and good. So I was surprised by both those books actually. I picked up Hawkeye versus Deadpool and Death of Wolverine just to give them a try. As kind of, I'll try these once and then put them away and probably never read them again. And I'm probably going to keep buying both of them for the miniseries. So I really enjoyed them both.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. How much time do I have left? I have a whole 30 seconds
Let
left.
me ask you a question.
Sing a song for us, Bobby.
Yeah, what's up, Steve?
Death of Wolverine. You didn't find that the $5 price tag that you got, like all of that director's cut stuff. Like,
I didn't want it though. That's,
okay.
That's thing. It's a lot of cool information.
Yeah.
The interview with Len Wein is really neat. All the detail and stuff is really great. But I feel like it should have been, you can buy the regular book, or you can buy Death of Wolverine director's cut edition
Right.
for $5. You
Just
know?
like with these DC covers.
I mean,
You-
the regular
you've got-
book would have been $4.
Right,
Right.
but still, I'm just saying, like, I'd rather have spent the $4 than.
Right.
And I will say the one thing about the Future's End thing is that it's. I don't like that they don't put the creative teams on the covers.
Yeah.
It's intentionally deceiving because I didn't even think about it. I bought the Earth 2 one and I was like, oh, this is none of the regular team at all doing this book. You know, and it's my fault for not looking inside the book, but I was like, oh, I just assumed it and I bought it.
Well, remember back when we solicited these, I labored on some ridiculous chart that's now buried somewhere in my notes from past shows, where there were, I think, only 1/4 of the books actually done by the regular creative team,
Wow.
and there were another bit that were done by the writers and a couple by the artists. But it was about telling a story out of continuity, so they approached, I guess, other writers and artists who wanted a shot, and it's great. But like you said, then they should put that on the cover.
Exactly. I don't mind that it's different people.
Yep.
Just put it on the cover so I know. So you're being honest with your readers.
Yeah.
But that's going to be our lightning round segment. Joey, thank you so much for joining us for this little bit and helping us celebrate.
That was stressful.
You did great.
Helping us celebrate the 150th episode of Talking Comics, and
Absolutely.
we'll have you back on for a full episode soon, my friend.
I do like, before he goes, I like Joey's answer to
Oh, we got a
one
question,
of the
right?
things we just, one of our questions that we were going to answer later. So we'll give you full credit for that one.
Yes, we'll read your answer later. I promise.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Congratulations.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Joey.
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 All right.
Speak to you soon.
All right, so we should have Adam Shaw calling in any second to talk about some Valiant stuff
Ooh.
as well.
Second.
But Stephanie, do you want to ask that question, actually? While we're waiting?
Sure.
Okay.
So, Wiccan House on Twitter wants to know, if you could have 2 characters from any medium duke it out, who would they be and why? Who would win? And then he ends it off with, thanks for all you do. And Joey's answer was, and he didn't provide a why or anything, but he said Buffy versus Jane Eyre.
Well, yeah, you can't top that.
It wouldn't be fair for Jane Eyre, I don't think.
I thought you were about to say for Buffy.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
I don't know. Jane Eyre went through a lot of oppression and shit.
Yeah,
She
Mr.
did.
Rochester is just not a good person.
But Buffy has superpowers.
Well, everyone's a slayer.
Jane Eyre's a teacher. What she had to put up with.
Oh, we are joined by Adam Shaw.
Hello.
Adam, thank you
Hello,
so
Adam.
much. How you-
Yeah, thanks for letting me come on.
Of course. How you doing tonight?
It's morning here.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna
that's
say,
right.
what's
You're back in Japan, right?
Yes. It's
Yeah.
9:20 in the morning.
Oh wow.
Wow.
So this is kind of perfect
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, this is great. It's comics and coffee, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh man. So if you guys don't know, Adam hosts our Valiant podcast, Talking Valiant. You guys just put up an interview with Robert Venditti, who writes
Nice.
X-O Man of War and is obviously also writing Green Lantern over at DC.
And the Flash.
And the Flash as
I
well.
was
That's
informed.
That's right.
I did not know that going into the interview, and I felt kind of a little silly at the end when he mentioned that. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah,
Forgot
he's
about that,
he's
yeah.
writing that with Van Jensen, I believe. So yeah, that's awesome. Everybody should check Talking Valiant out. But Adam, thank goodness you do Talking Valiant because we rarely speak about Valiant on
I know.
the podcast.
I know.
And you've taken a lot of pressure off us, Adam.
Yes.
Because now we have a
Yay.
whole show dedicated to Valiant. I talked about a Valiant book last week. Then we talked about the Dr. Mirage book that came out last week.
Which is sold out everywhere.
Oh, really?
I've tried to pick that up at 3 different shops and gone. So you guys over at Valiant are doing that. So that's a good deal, Adam.
Yeah, I think it was all because of me talking about it.
Could be.
Yeah, it probably was because we just talked about it yesterday, so way too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Adam, I asked you beforehand to come up with a Valiant book to talk about. What Valiant series or book are you think is the best you're loving right now?
Well, before that, I just got back from Dragon Con.
Oh, right.
And I met Kelly Sudaconic, and I mentioned I would write for the site, and she says she loves you guys, and she really loves Bob, and to say hi to Bob. So,
Of course.
Everyone
There
loves
you go.
Bob.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
like
they do.
Talking Comics. Oh my God, I love Bob so much.
I'm going to have to
I had a-
leverage my position here.
One of our fans, like in Baltimore, I believe Mike, he came up to me and he was like, when do you think Bob's going to be on Twitter? So
Not never.
Never.
it's all about you, Bob.
Hmm.
What about Bob?
Bob's your
All
uncle.
about Bob.
Oh man! So
Wow.
of course Kelly Sue said hello to Bob. Well, we love you too, Kelly Sue. Oh man! All right. So, how was Dragon Con, by the way, Adam?
It was awesome. A bit of a blur at times, because it's kind of there's 5 hotels, but 3 of them are connected by skywalks, so you can have a drink
Ooh.
and never go outside, so you don't have any open container. So it's like a big party, less corporate stuff than most like cons. There's no like big announcements. It's just kind of walking around, going to panels, going to Artist Alley, being drunk most of the time. It's fun.
Nice. So tell us about some Valiant, Adam.
Some Valiant. Okay, let's see. Well, this week there's a Delinquents #2 coming out, which is the team up of well, I don't know if they're teaming up yet. They haven't teamed up yet, but Archer and Armstrong and Quantum and Woody are kind of coming together, and both those series got a lot of nods at the Harvey Awards this past week.
Yeah.
So you should check out Quantum and Woody and Archer and Armstrong. Archer and Armstrong is really good, and Delinquents it's pretty fun so far. It's really funny. It's got like a kind of a, I don't know, like this late '80s, early '90s kind of like a. To me, it felt like a buddy kind of team up movie or something. Like the people that get like reluctantly thrust into like, you guys got to be heroes now, but I don't know. I can't think of any good
Red
examples.
Heat.
Yeah.
Red Heat.
Come on,
Sure.
that was a big one. Running Scared.
Running Scared is a good one. Yeah, good one.
But it's
yeah.
it's a lot of fun. It's more of a humor book. I think if you're more into serious books, definitely something like a Rye. Sorry, like the bread. That it's pretty good. The art is pretty phenomenal from Clayton Crane. It's all like painted in Photoshop and looks awesome.
Oh yeah, he did that Carnage series a while back. Clayton Crane.
I think so.
Yeah, Carnage USA. He was the artist on that, and that stuff was stunning. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you obviously you're headfirst submerged in Valiant stuff. Obviously you said Quantum and Woody and Archer and Armstrong. Those are great right now. Delinquents is great. What do you think is like the flagship Valiant title that anyone could read? I mean, someone's really into Marvel and DC, and they're looking for kind of a to look at the superhero side of stuff in Valiant, and their take on on the superhero. What would be the one book you tell them to pick up?
Oh, one book. I'm gonna go Exo Man of War. If you just want like a single hero, if you want like a team book, then go for Unity. Their heroes are a lot different than Marvel and DC. I don't know. It's not just good and bad. There's a lot of like, I want to say a little more adult at times in the themes. Like you don't know who's bad. They're not necessarily all agree. They all have different motives. Some have been around couple thousand years. Some people work for governments, so they have maybe have different agendas or assignments. But definitely, I think one thing Valiant does is with that kind of Exo Man of War right now, and even with the Armor Hunters event going on right now, I think they do events really well, better than Marvel. Like the event books are pretty short. They've only had 2 events, but I think in the review I did for Armor Hunters, one of the series a couple months ago, I mentioned that it's kind of like an outfit. So if you want to just read one of the series in the event, if you just want to read Armor Hunters Harbinger, that's great. You got a nice jacket. And if you want to read another one, it's like a pair of shoes. So you can read them all and you have a nice outfit, or you can just pick and choose the piece you want to read. And they tie in, but it's not confusing, or if you're not reading one, you're totally missing out on the other.
What a great idea.
I think they do that really well.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing that I think that obviously Marvel and DC could probably learn a little bit from. Marvel, I think even more than DC in that, because I think DC does a decent job of it with their events, kind of sectioning off stuff and being able to take things in pieces. I mean, Marvel, not at all. You have to read it all, or you don't read anything.
Yeah,
basically the Marvel way. But that's cool, awesome. Yeah, I mean, like I said, like we've had. I really like Dr. Mirage, and I've liked kind of the little bits I've read into it, but nothing has really grabbed me yet. But I What I read at Exo Manowar I did really like, and the idea of Unity was really interesting to me. But I felt like when I was reading it, like I was getting lost a little bit because I didn't know any of the characters.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I would probably recommend starting with Exo Manowar just because it's one main character, and he's kind of got an interesting journey from the past and kind of a Captain America man stuck out of time, but he's got thousands of years of making up to do, and it's a totally different world.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. So how often do you record Talking Valiant, Adam?
We do it every 2 weeks. We usually record over the weekend, and we try to release them on Tuesday every other week. So we just did one yesterday.
Okay.
And or today, depending on where you're at in the world. And the next one will be in 2 weeks, and we're going to do something. It's the 10th episode. We're going to do a new to Valiant. So if you're new to Valiant, if you don't know anything about Valiant, check us out, episode 10, the next one. And we're going to do kind of spoiler-free. If you like, if you like Deadpool, maybe you'll like, Quantum and Woody or Delinquents, or kind of telling you, like, if you like these series, then maybe you want to check out these series. Where to start? Should you go start at the beginning? Can you start with the current issue? We're going to do kind of an episode for noob Valiant fans.
That's awesome.
Beautiful.
I'm gonna listen to that one.
Cool.
So I can get into that. Adam, tell people where they can follow you on Twitter and where they can get the podcast on Twitter as well.
Okay, you can get the podcast if you go to talkingcomicbooks.com. At the top, there's that podcast tab, and it drops down. There's Talking Valiant right there. You can also find us on iTunes. If you type in Valiant Podcast and you scroll over a couple, we're there. iTunes takes a long time for their store to update.
Yes,
I've changed icons and descriptions, and it's once you subscribe, it'll pop up in the podcast app is changing, but on the actual store, it hasn't changed in months.
Yeah.
But we're on iTunes. You can even find the direct link or the iTunes link from the Talking Comics website, and you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Know Nothing Nerd, KNOW Nothing Nerd, and also we just started a Talking Valiant Twitter.
Ooh.
So if you want to just follow that, it's at Talking Valiant, and yeah, that's it, I think.
Awesome. Well, Adam, thank you so much for hopping on and helping us celebrate 150.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and congratulations, guys.
Oh, thanks.
All right,
Great
thanks very
to
much,
actually
Adam.
speak to you. This is lovely.
I think this is the first time I've talked to Bob. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. We did our comics and coffee together. The
Right.
one. But yeah, that's the first time you've been on the actual podcast, is it?
Yeah, I know I had to
Yeah.
start my own podcast to get on.
It's true. Well, there's a look. I didn't realize the time difference put us like this in line. Like that. Like you actually, it's like the morning for you there.
Well, I'm not working. I work at home now,
Okay, so that makes it
and
easier.
that's just started from this week. So
So we'll definitely
would have been impossible from the past.
it's true. We'll definitely have you on again for a full show.
Yeah. All right, sounds good.
All right, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
Hi, Adam.
Hey guys,
All right, bye.
congratulations.
Thank you. All right, so we have a listener supposed to call in soon, but while we're waiting,
Or not.
no, that was just Adam hanging up. While we're waiting, Bob, why don't you tell us what was your book of the week?
Well, for the first time ever, I have a book of the week, and I don't have it in front of me.
What?
What? Yeah, because it's digital.
Oh my God.
God, yeah.
It's changing
Who are you?
around
What
here.
have you done with Bob?
Well, it's thanks to you, Stephanie, because my book of the week is Bandette number 8 from Monkey Brain,
Yay.
which is Paul Tobin and Colleen Coover, and this story is called The Eighth Wonder of the World, to go with everything else that's been going on in her Presto world of strange capers and so on. When last we left our Bandette, she had dispatched, and with Panache, of course, the fearsome and horrific Il Tredice, the Strangler, while she was parachuting out of an airplane on a plane to America.
Of course.
That's what you do, of course. Now, while all this was going on, the evil head of Finis, the vile absinthe, is having his whole place robbed by the traditional master thief, who has not quite so much panache, but quite a bit of himself, Monsieur. Am I doing that pretty close to the French pronunciation, Stephanie, or am I way off?
Monsieur?
Monsieur. Okay.
Monsieur?
But he can't even escape. There's so many bad guys running around that he ends up hiding in a in a closet, basically, finds his way out, sort of sidles up to Absinthe's girlfriend Margot. They engage in some romantic banter, and it's all very interesting. We also have discovered that Margot may be double-dealing behind Absinthe's back. Ah, terrible, right? Now, while all this was going on, Banditte's trying to find her way home on a truck full of hogs, and she names herself the Queen of the Pirate Pigs.
Nice.
And asks the guy driving the truck. By the way, I should do this actually from the quote. Do they know how to sword fight?
But the pigs?
The pigs.
Of course.
Well, they're pirate pigs, so they should sword fight. And the truck drivers don't believe so. No.
He has
But
no imagination.
She asks him for candy bars, and it's the usual fun romp. We end up here though with Inspector Belgique raiding the joint. But of course, Banditte's been there already. Everything is scattered to the winds. She's having a just grand old time. But in that, suspense ratchets up because you don't know what's going to happen. She's in danger. She could actually get hurt here. Will the Dread Strangler hurt her? Can someone from her past save her? And can Lieutenant Heloise Price overcome her indiscretion at putting a big, fat, wet kiss on the inspector's jawline?
You sound like the middle and end of a Batman 66 episode.
I'm working at that. I can't do that voice, though, the William Dozier voice. I can't do. All I know is this is, thanks to Stephanie, and we discovered this during last year's Best Ofs, this is one of the most charmingly witty, funny, adventure-filled, all-ages books you can imagine, but with so much for grown-ups at the same time that anyone who isn't reading this is just missing out on something really, really special. If you don't do the digital thing, which I don't, Dark Horse did a wonderful hardcover book that was only $15 with 5 issues in it, tons of bonus stories and artwork, just absolutely charming. And everyone I've shown this to is just, they make books like this? Yes. Yes, they do. Not everything is the usual Sturm und Drang of fighting and events and worlds blowing up. And there's some fun stuff out there, and this is at the top of that list. So, Bandette number 8, the 8th wonder of the world.
Awesome. Nice. Very awesome. I know, Seven, you don't have a book of the week because all you read was Empty Man, right?
It is.
But actually, we have a couple minutes, so talk about Baltimore.
Sure. So this weekend was Baltimore Comic Con. I got into town a little bit early to go up with Bill to a signing at Captain Blue Hen Comics in Delaware, and that shop was absolutely amazing. A really great setup. It almost felt just more like a traditional bookstore. You know, there was a lot of stuff in there, but it wasn't all crammed into, you know, one of those long and narrow stores that's dark and has people just staring at you weirdly. I'm kidding. Anyways, but it was a really great shop, and did a really great signing there, and I bought so much stuff.
What a surprise.
Well, Bill was doing a signing, so I was just like, I'm going to wander. I haven't been to a comic shop in like 3 weeks because I've been away, and here I am. So I just filled up an entire box full of stuff and was like, these, please. I got myself my collection of the Runaways so I can replace my individuals and all this stuff. But then Baltimore happened, and it was the first show that was 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We were set up at in a guest section. I'll explain all the nonsense another time, but this probably set a record even before I get into kind of how the show itself was. The show set a record for the amount of people that came up to me to say that they listened to the show. And I was kind of just overwhelmed in a very good way. So many people were just like, oh, are you Stephanie? I listened to the podcast. And I was like, hey, thanks. And some people with this, I was in the elevator and in a parking garage, and some guy was like, oh, you're Bill. Oh, and you're Stephanie from Talking Comics. I love your show. And then, the elevator door closed. I'm just like, thank you. So whoever you were, thank you. That was nice of you for saying so. So it was really cool to just kind of talk to so many people and get a chance to, remember that this doesn't just go out into the ether. You guys are so awesome to come up and talk to us, and I had a bajillion great conversations. And Katie Rex, I finally got to hang out with her a little bit
cool.
too. And I got to see her amazing new Rat Queens tattoo.
Oh, it's so cool.
Wow.
It's so cool.
Oh, it's gorgeous. I'll show you a picture, Bob.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. And I just got to wander around, and I got to talk to, like, Dave Gibbons. Dave Gibbons did a Rorschach cat for me in my
A Rorschach cat?
Yeah. And I got commissions from Francesco Francavilla.
Of course.
He did a Sabrina for me, and then signed it to Stephanie with Magic.
That's
Aw.
awesome.
He posted it on Twitter if anyone's curious about seeing it. And then I got Ray Fox to do a Pearl from American Vampire.
Ooh.
Oh, awesome.
What a load you got here. My goodness.
By the way, everyone, I'm sure you guys know, like, Ray Fox as a writer for, like, Constantine and Pandora and all this stuff. But do yourselves a favor and go look up his art. He is criminally underrated as an artist.
Didn't even know he was. Wow.
Yeah, I had no idea.
He has several self-published books that have been nominated for Eisner's, Hugo's, Harvey's, and he has another book coming out this fall, I believe. And he does these watercolors. He loves kind of like the 1920s and all that, which is why I was kind of like, oh, he should do Pearl. And seriously, guys, go look up his art. I've been meaning to. He's always like the nicest person at Comic Cons because we both live in Toronto, and every time I'm like, oh, I should get a commission from you. He's like, no, we live in Toronto. Don't spend your money on me right now. Like, get it later. He's like, don't worry, get it later. And then finally, I was just like, I always see you at shows. I never see you when we're in the city. So I just do a commission for him. He's like, okay, do you want to pick it up in Toronto? And I'm like, no, just do it now. But it turned out so beautiful, and I got all kinds of amazing swag from, like, the Harveys. And I was going to pipe in and say I got a copy of Quantum and Woody as well to read and check out.
Oh, awesome.
Did you
lots
swipe
of
a
things
Harvey
to do.
from someone?
Pardon?
Did you swipe a Harvey from someone when they weren't looking?
No.
Oh, too bad.
David Peterson won for Mouse Guard, and he actually had, like, his statue at the table with him on Sunday. So I was kind of just like, if I was going to swipe an award, that would have been my only opportunity to do so. But I did swipe Harvey's swag because you get really cool swag bags, and I didn't go to the award show. So they,
Oh, James, you got to turn off your audio.
I have indeed, yes. Sorry, I was running you through YouTube on the web PC and through my phone at the same time.
It's
It's
all
just
right.
terrible.
James Hammond, thank you so much for calling in. Our first listener call-in on Talking
An
Comics
absolute
150.
Pleasure.
Hey, man.
You're part-time powers on
Yes, one and only.
on Twitter. Yes, a frequent contributor to our Twitter and to interacting with Talking Comics.
Talking games as well.
Talking games as well. Yeah, you awesome listener. So thank you so much for calling in. Let's get right to you. Had a couple questions for us, right? So throw one at us.
Yeah, I got a cracking one. So, of course, superheroes appear in 1939, and they, change everything. But I've never actually come across any superheroes who were written afterwards to be set in the time periods before. We haven't, for example, got a Captain America of the Great War or anything like that. But perhaps your Bob knows of a character who is written to be set in different time periods. So there you go. What? Any characters that fit the criteria?
Sure. Union Jack.
Oh,
because they had
goodness.
set him in World War I initially, and then they had his son, I guess it was part of the Invaders crew.
As you can imagine, Captain America wouldn't work so well in the Great War. I mean, he'd just be sitting in a trench getting shell shocked.
Yeah, get some mustard gas
reading.
thrown on him.
Hey, just walk in right at the end.
Yeah.
You know.
DC's the Phantom Eagle, who was a World War I flying ace, would count,
Yes.
I guess. And we're not counting
Oh,
cavemen or knights in armor and stuff, right? None of that stuff counts. That's just too simple.
I'm just trying to think what my second question was now. Oh goodness, I need to bring up my emails and everything.
I guess Vandal Savage could have fought in World War I.
He fought in every war
Exactly.
since the Neanderthal versus Cro-Magnon. So yeah, he would count.
Yeah.
Usually on the bad guy's side, I would say.
Yeah, usually.
Usually.
Usually, not always, but usually,
In
yes.
fact, That one's something Valiant's quite good for because their characters, as Adam Shaw just mentioned, stretch quite far back. But while I was listening to you on YouTube, you mentioned Hawkeye versus Deadpool #1. Oh my life, if Hawkeye doesn't turn up in a tinfoil Ultron costume in the second Avengers movie,
I do want to see that.
That was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the big one. I've got a recommendation for Bob. You mentioned the manga. It was based on, oh goodness me.
Oh, Barefoot Gen?
That's the one, yes.
Yeah.
I've got a British version of that.
Ooh.
Now, if you know 1984...
Does the movie Threads?
No, it's
Oh.
similar and related. Came out around the same time.
Okay.
Now, of course, you know of the snowman. I'm pretty sure everyone knows about that, no matter where you come from. Little boy makes a snowman, flies off to the North Pole.
We don't.
Not seen that?
No, we don't really have
we
that
don't know
story
that one.
here.
Oh my goodness. Well, basically, the same guy who wrote that wonderful kid's story wrote the most horrifying, I suppose you could say, potential, realistic science fiction about a nuke going off.
Okay,
It's called When the Wind Blows by Raymond Briggs. 32 pages long, will absolutely destroy you.
Okay.
Really, really good.
Raymond Briggs. I'm writing it down as
I
we
love
speak.
It'll
I
cripple
will
you
definitely-
emotionally. Read it.
No, I'm having grown up when once a month we had air raid drills and we ducked and covered and hid behind our desk. And as Lewis Black says, "Oh, that's great. Hide behind your desk, which is made of wood." What
the
good is it
whole
when there's a
point
nuclear
is
fireball?
written.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just,
it
just
was
ridiculous.
literally just to teach people. Yeah, those pamphlets that are giving you advice, they're worthless.
It's
No
just
one
bollocks.
wins in that situation.
Threads, no one's ever seen that, we know the day after the film that actually apparently President Reagan found so appalling he actually started to do something about nuclear weapons. But
I think I know. Fred's is set in London.
Yes.
It has an adaptation. Oh, it's by the same guy. Exact same person.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it is horrific. It makes the day after look like My Fair Lady. It is awful beyond words. There's also a very short 65 British film called The War Game.
Yes.
Which is I saw that in school as a little boy, that was great. Show that to an 11-year-old. Yeah, great, thanks. At least when there were giant bugs, it was okay. But people dying from radiation poisoning, not so hot. So When the Wind Blows, Raymond Briggs. I'm on that.
I should say I'm sorry for recommending it, but it's really that good. This one is kind of for Steve.
Okay.
You're the one who's saying Talking Games has forced your people to play outside of your comfort zone.
Yes.
But I haven't really heard anyone in the Talking Comics saying I've read something that I would never have read, in quite a while. And I've listened to you for a considerable amount of time now. What's a book that you want someone else to read that they haven't, and you can make them because of this podcast?
See, it's funny that you asked that because the book that I'm talking about tonight for my book of the week is actually a book called Naja, and it's from J.D. Morvan and art by Ben Gall. This is a book that I'm going to be passing around. I already have about 8 people waiting in line to read it. So if I could pass along any book to the members of the podcast or just hand people a book in general, currently it would be Naja.
I reviewed this and actually had this as a book of the week a little while ago, right?
I do know that, Stephanie.
All right.
He
just
does
checking.
listen.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. I think I'm more or less out of time. I don't want to hold the queue up any more than I already have.
Well, thank you so much, James, for calling in. Awesome to hear from you, and thank you for being such a vital part of the community.
Well, I do try to write on the forums, but then I forget to actually hit the send button, so Twitter works out better for me.
Well, I have a recommendation for James before he goes.
Very quickly, Bob. We got our next caller coming in.
Okay, very quickly. What you should read is that Miss Fury #1 that came out from Dynamite. I think it's really great.
It's sure. Thank you so much.
All right, James. We'll talk to you later.
See you another day.
Bye, James.
Bye. All right. We're keeping the train going here.
Woof.
Choo choo.
Oh man.
Hello, is this comic books?
This is comic books. Yes. Mike Kelly, thank you so much.
That is me.
Thank you so much for calling in.
How's it going, guys?
It's going
Awesome.
great.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you have a question for us, Mike?
Yeah, I'm OCD enough that I had to diagram my call. I just want to say, first of all, I like the show because I appreciate the mix of news and talk, and especially because of you guys kind of will talk about more controversial topics. And I just had a couple questions. Just like let me know, if you want me to do one or whatever. And I actually just met Steph at Baltimore Comic-Con, which got me wondering what your guys' best and worst experiences at cons are.
Huh. Ooh. That's a good question. I can tell you the one that comes to my head right away, and this is not something that actually happened at a con, but it happened as a result of a con. Last New York Comic Con, and I've talked about this a little bit before, I commissioned an artist to do a commission for me.
Oh.
And we are now just about a year out of it, and he has completely stopped contacting me, even.
Really?
Yeah. I sent him emails and stuff, and just nothing back.
Wow.
So that was a really sour experience because I paid him for the commission, and then I never got anything, and now there's no contact.
What's his name?
I'm not saying his name out loud because I don't. Not because I don't want him to get in trouble, because I don't want to give him the publicity. More people know who we are than know who he is, so I'm not gonna. It's true.
Bang.
It's true, and then I'm not gonna give him extra publicity.
All right.
By saying his name.
That.
But that was a really bad experience for me. So much so that, we're getting ready for New York Comic Con again, and I've been talking to, I looked through the artists' names, and I've been trying to figure out people I want to get commissions for, trying to get their commissions list early. And some of them are like, oh, it costs this much, and I'm like, do you mind if I give you like half now and half when it's done, because I got burned, before doing this. So that's been a little bit rough. That was definitely the worst experience I've had. Not at the actual con, but that was just as a result of the con. Yeah, that's mine. Bob, any bad experiences?
Bad? No, honestly. Maybe trudging through the mud in the old days of Icon, where there was no planning, and there was the nickname for the con was MudCon, because the entire campus was under construction, and it always rained at the end of March.
Yeah.
So I wandered through a lot of parking lots with boxes of my friend Frank's comic books and going to tables and just smelled like a wet rat, just cold and miserable. But
actually, our Comic-Con in Des Moines is called Icon. At Iowa Con.
Okay, that makes sense.
Well, ours was I-Con, so I guess we're separate enough, and our icon is finished.
It
so
is, yeah.
Long lamented, but gone.
Stephanie, any really bad experiences? You've been to so many more than we have, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's anything that, at New York Comic Con every year I seem to get in fights with security guards.
Saw one of those last year. Yep.
Yeah. Because they never know what's going on and all that stuff. But, that's not really, the con itself. For the most part, I think my experiences are pretty good. Usually, if I ever have a bad experience, it's just, a weird comment or something that somebody makes in passing, which is also very rare. But most of the time, it's just more fun for me to be there than anything. So, yeah.
Awesome. Steve, what about you?
I've had nothing but great times. Seriously, I really have. Two of my favorite instances at Comic-Cons. One, of course, being meeting my girlfriend now at a Geek Girl Con after party the first year that we went to New York City Comic-Con, and just this past weekend, the weekend before, I went to Fan Expo in Toronto and was walking around and had a conversation earlier in the day about how I don't freak out when I see celebrities. I don't really go nuts. Lo and behold, I'm walking through the main floor, and I spot Robert Englund.
Wow.
I fanboyed the hell out. Let go of my girlfriend's hand and just ran across the main
Freddie,
floor.
yeah.
I didn't get to meet him, but I got to stand there and stare at him for about 5 minutes, and it was amazing.
I'm sure that wasn't creepy at all.
No. And then security came.
Yeah.
No, security. I will say this: the security, the woman that was watching his line, was really cool and just stood there and kind of kept us at bay and talked to us about Robert and the movies he's done and all that stuff. So we had a great conversation anyway. But 3-5 feet away from him, just to see him in person. He was the first person to ever truly scare the shit out of me. So, to have him stand right there, and he looks amazing. He looks amazing. Just to be near him,
Sure.
I feel like I achieved something.
Right,
It was
yeah.
really, really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I totally got to have dinner with Chewbacca on the weekend.
Oh, that's right. I saw your tweet about that. That's amazing.
That's right. You just reminded me of that. We're sitting down at dinner, and then all of a sudden, Peter Mayhew comes in, and, there's 2 chairs beside me free. So him and his assistant came and sat with me.
Ooh,
and I was
wow.
like, hey, this is so cool.
You were like,
And then
what a
that
Wookiee.
That was a good thing that happened. That was cool. And I made him laugh, guys. I'm funny.
We know that.
You can take me any place. You can take me places. And then somebody, I think, tweeted, was like, did he say that his food was chewy?
Oh.
Did you block that person?
I like puns.
Puns are amazing. They're delicious.
Hmm.
They are.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
Puns, they're only
punny.
acceptable like in movie review titles.
That is not.
No,
absolutely
buddy.
not it.
I
You're
love a
wrong.
good pun.
All right. So, do you have another question for us, Mike?
Yeah, actually, I had a two-part question for Bob because I'm actually doing a blog on old Avengers comics, and when you do it, you sort of read some of the ways in which female characters were treated back in the 60s, which is to say, not particularly well. And so I was sort of interested in that, and with Bob being a big Fantastic Four fan, the first part of the question is, could he talk just for a second about the way Sue sort of evolved over the years into the character that she is today? And the second part of the question is, when is he going to get on Twitter?
Never, to answer the second part first. It sounds like where I'm on 21 with Charles Van Doren. But the thing with Sue was, I remember I wrote a piece about her for our first Women in Comics Week, and it in some ways, the evolution of Sue Storm actually mirrors the women's liberation movement, where she started as a girlfriend character, which was in a lot of not only action fiction, regular dramatic fiction, except for books written specifically for another purpose. Even though Stan said he wanted her to be an active part of the team, she kind of wasn't. And in FF11, where they actually answered real listeners' questions, the Fantastic Four did, sitting there, people complaining about what Sue was doing, which was nothing, they began to change things. As Trina Robbins points out in her Great Women Superheroes, that Sue's power set basically mirrored the Victorian woman. When she got excited, she used her power, she fainted away after becoming invisible. But in, it's issue 20, they give her the force fields. Eventually, she makes a decision about Reed and Namor and starts to be more aggressive toward these things. As we move through the issues in the 50s and 60s, she's a more vital part of the team, really stands up to Dr. Doom a couple of times. By the time we get to John Byrne, who really took her to another level, he rechristened her the Invisible Woman, had her use her powers offensively as well as defensively, used flying discs and could fly around the city. She led the team a lot of times. It's great that you bring this up in this way, because it really did evolve over these years. And you can fault the creators of that period for not being forward-thinking, but it's hard to get too hard on people to not be 30 years ahead of their time a little bit.
Well, right, and kind of reading the Avengers, when you see the Wasp leave
Absolutely.
and Scarlet Witch come in, you sort of see an improvement there. The Scarlet Witch is a much more important member of the team than Wasp was, where Wasp was just kind of, basically like a girlfriend character.
Yeah, despite the fact she named the Avengers, she was really just a plus one. Wanda
Whereas
changes
Scarlet
that.
Witch has some agency and her powers actually matter. I mean,
yeah, and there are a lot of people, myself included, at a certain level. I really love what they called Cap's Kooky Quartet, which you're probably right in the middle of, right?
I'm actually in the blog. I'm up to issue 25. I'm currently right up to issue 30.
Oh, you just did the two Kang
really,
issues.
really interesting. And the issues that I'm in now, they just had them fight Power Man and Enchantress and then Kang.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because that's the first time the new team had to actually fight some of the real serious heroes. They had to fight the Swordsman and a couple other kind of
got to build up to that.
Semi-faceless characters for a while, but.
Yeah, that Kang double feature, someone just asked for Kang recommendations. 23 and 24 are some of the best. Absolutely. And
They
Dr. Doom
posted in my little thing about the Avengers too. And I gave them the same recommendation you did. It's a neat story.
Yeah. No, Kang gets some of his own agency. He has some dignity in this, and it's not just a bad guy. All the Ravonna stuff really works.
And just real quickly again, could you just say who all is Kang? Because it's Immortus is, I guess, Kang. And Iron Lad is?
And so's maybe Rama Tut and Dr. Doom and the Scarlet Centurion. Maybe,
okay, I haven't gotten him yet.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. It depends what, and maybe they're all set into place by Nathaniel Richards. You have to ask Jonathan Hickman. It's on his whiteboard somewhere. He would know. He's the only person who might.
Oh man. Well, Mike,
He
thank you
definitely
so
gets around.
Yes.
Mike, thank you so much for calling in. You mentioned your Avengers blog. You're going through every issue. Is that your plan?
Yeah, I'm going through. Originally, I was going to try to do 25 issues at a shot, but being that the first 5 issues took up about 1,500 words, I figured that was a little unrealistic.
Yeah, probably.
So I'm just doing 5 issues at a shot. It's just up on It's just comicdork.wordpress.com, and I do put up a blog every Saturday.
Awesome.
Hey,
Awesome.
can I ask Mike a
And-
question quick?
You can ask them quick, but we have another call coming.
Okay, real quick. Of you the first 25? What's your favorite issue?
The one, and I can't remember the number. It's the one where they meet the Collusians. It's the alien race that's living on the North Pole.
You lost
Do you
me.
remember
on
that
this
one?
Oh my God, you just stumped
You
Bob.
just stumped me.
It's basically they kidnap this scientist because it's the issue previous to that. Wasp gets injured, and they need
Okay,
the
that's
best lung surgeon in the world,
Yes,
which
okay.
happens to be this doctor living in Norway, which leads them, in these comics,
Yes,
everything's
I
crazy.
do remember.
Leads them
Thank you.
to the North Pole
Mhm.
to meet this alien race, which is really, really strange. And I like
Yeah.
that
It's
issue.
12. It's issue 12 and 13.
Oh,
Pretty
is it?
sure. Yeah, she gets injured fighting the Mole Man in issue 12, and then it's 13, 14.
That's right. Yeah.
I take it back. You didn't stump him. You reign supreme. All right, Mike. Thank you so much for calling in, and we'll talk to you later, man.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All right,
Mike.
Bye bye.
He had me there for a second.
Keeping the train going. Hello, welcome to Talking Comics 150.
Hello.
Hello.
How are y'all?
Sammy, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, man. Doing great.
Okay.
Thank you for
Can you hear
calling
me
in.
okay?
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
great. Yeah, you're perfectly.
Good. Good.
So, how's it going?
First of all, I want to thank all of you guys for what y'all do. It is Stephanie.
She is
I'm
here.
here.
Happy early birthday to my fellow September 18th girl.
All
Thank
right.
you. Happy early birthday to you too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Sammy, you've already ingratiated yourself to everybody. You're off to a really good
Yeah.
start. You did the
Oh,
the
good,
podcast,
good.
the podcast equivalent of buying the first round of drinks.
Sucking up never hurts.
No. So, what do you want to talk to us about, Sammy?
Well, do you want me to start with the question first?
Oh yeah, start with the question first.
Okay. My question is, DC had their big heyday in the late 60s and early 70s with some good horror titles, with House of Mystery and Weird War Tales, which was my favorite. And then Marvel had a run in the late 70s with Tomb of Dracula and Werewolf by Night. And Image is having a good run now. Do we see any of the big two having a resurgence of horror comics?
Wow.
It's a good question. I think that if they think they can make money off of it, I think you'll probably definitely see it. I think testing the water not testing the waters, but the resurgence in the independent side. I mean, Stephanie mentioned The Empty Man earlier in the show, which is a really scary book, a really great book. Everything that Image is doing. I mean, Kirkman, I think, is knocking it out of the park right now with Outcast. Nailbiter as well. Just all these great books. I think that we've heard rumors now, right, of Blade possibly coming back into the Marvel cinematic universe.
Wow.
There's rumors of a new movie. There's rumors of him coming in somewhere. So I think we've seen in the past that when a character makes a appearance or a resurgence in that side of things, he usually shows up in the comic book side of things. So if that leads to us to getting another series like that, I think that's probably your best chance to kind of at least, and hopefully it's something that they get the right writers, they get the right people, and it's something more with at least some horror roots to it. It's not just an action book.
Look, DC's New 52 did a lot. You brought back
they
the
did.
Phantom Stranger, Justice League Dark,
Yeah.
Animal Man,
At
Swamp
times.
Thing are kind of horror. Marvel kind of stayed away, and really they helped start this too when they did Tomb of Dracula and Werewolf by Night and Ghost Rider, Son of Satan, and so on. They've been absent of this, but Blade had a big role in Mighty Avengers. Excellent, and Al Ewing did a great job with that. And you've got, it's this week the George Romero Empire of the Dead second act comes out, which
excellent book.
Yeah, I think that could be their testing the waters to see. And it sold pretty well first time around.
Yeah, it did, absolutely. I hope so.
And are we counting?
That was a really good book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we counting Vertigo along with DC?
I mean, I guess you can, but that's always been a place for those kind of books, you know. I mean, like something like I, Vampire, which obviously went away at this point, was a great book when the New 52 started, and definitely a horror book.
And Frankenstein.
Frankenstein as well, yeah, absolutely.
I've been a Marvel guy all my life too. I've just recently, thanks to you guys, started reading Scott Snyder's Batman, which has some very dark horror kind of tones to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the Vertigo stuff I've always read. That stuff is tremendous. Between American Vampire and Preacher, always had some dark undertones and was almost horror. So, Vertigo is great, but I'd like to see Marvel dip into it a little bit since they have such a good history with Tomb, and those books were tremendous.
Yeah, Tomb of Dracula's. I talk about it all the time as we get to this Halloween part of the year. But that is, to me, the best book ever with a villain as a lead, because Dracula was so regal.
Yeah,
and he was doing awful things, and you were rooting for him. It was, Marv Wolfman, could anyone have been named better to write a book called Dracula than someone named Wolfman? But wow, and Gene Colan's art, just amazing. Werewolf by Night was great. Mike Plug back then. I wouldn't mind. You know, they're doing all these female characters. What about Zatanna, the daughter of Satan?
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
If you've never read it, definitely check out Scarecrow Year One. It's from a couple years back. It is really creepy.
I remember you talking about that. Yeah, it was your book of the week.
It freaked me out pretty good.
I know Marvel did. Oh, sorry, Karen.
No, go ahead, Stephanie.
Marvel did like the Marvel Zombies thing.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah.
First couple particularly.
Isn't everybody doing zombies now?
Yeah, it is.
I was just actually thinking that, you know, not necessarily in the zombie genre. I mean, but there's so many Avengers and X-Men titles and all that stuff too. They could take a lot of characters that they're not using and do something Afterlife with Archie-ish. Not necessarily zombies, but do a horror story like, you know, with the Avengers, or like kind of Avengers Arena-ish in the sense that you're taking B, C, D characters that aren't really in regular rotation and kind of do something cool with them and make something fun and exciting for the horror season.
Well, Marvel, in their continuity, and they did it in those Fin Fang Foom special issues some years ago, but FF1, there's Monster Island, where the Mole Man lives. It's all giant. The giant monsters used to be in the 50s horror books. What if you had a monster land that's the traditional monsters, werewolves, ghouls, whatever, and then send the B-level heroes in?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
One mystic of a Dr. Druid or somebody, and
that'd be awesome. I mean, you looked at, the
Daredevil issue,
two issues of Daredevil where he went down to like the swamps or whatever, and there, you know, Zatanna was there, and all those characters were there. I think that was a great couple issues of that book, and I think there's plenty of room for that kind of thing there. I mean, obviously we saw, you know, Doctor Strange, I think is an easy, you know, analogy to that kind of thing. You look at the Marco Rudy annual, and
that was awesome.
It's disturbing. I mean, it's not an outright horror thing, but there's a real chance there to do some really kind of over-the-top and intense imagery, and you know, more kind of in that kind of like The Cell type of thing look to it than sort of a traditional kind of ghost house horror. But there's that place for it. I think horror is huge business, and so I can't imagine why they wouldn't have an interest in doing it, other than they haven't found the right way to do it yet, or figured out the way to do it yet.
Maybe if Doctor Strange is coming out and it's, you know, helmed by the guy that did Sinister, that you know, off the success of that, they'll decide to, you know, try a few titles and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I mean, there are those indie titles there. I mean, we've seen some images in the last couple of days, more images of Scott Snyder's Witches with art by Jock, and that looks like terrifying.
Ghosted is really good as well.
Ghosted's really good. Stephanie mentioned Afterlife with Archie. All these books are awesome, especially that last issue was legitimately scary. Yeah, absolutely.
Now this time I want to throw something in. We had a question before we never quite got to. Two characters pairing off against each other. Mine are horror. So should I go for it?
Go for it.
Swamp Thing versus Man Thing. But you're going to need a lot of squeegees to clean up afterwards.
Awesome. I love it.
That's fantastic.
I love it. Sammy, what else did you have for us?
Okay, excuse me, this is going to come with a little bit of a story.
Okay.
I bought a comic collection a while back, a small one, and in the midst of doing all those, I had a lot of duplicates. So as a as a try to get kids involved, I sent out a Facebook to all my friends and said, send me the age of your child, what gender they are, and I will put together a pack of books to send to the kids, which I did. No cost to anybody. I took the hit for all of it just to get stuff out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
As a sidebar to that, I was contacted by a girl that I grew up with who is now a school teacher, and she had fourth graders, and she wanted me to come in and talk to the fourth graders about comic books and reading in general.
Awesome.
As we know, anything to get kids reading is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I went in and I did 3 of her classes, about 9 kids each. My thought process was I started at the movies and worked my way back to show that this stuff came from books, which most everything does, but sometimes you have to connect all the dots for them.
Mm-hmm.
Tied it in with some toys and pop culture kind of stuff, and just got a rave response. I then because of that, I made my local hometown newspaper picture with me and the kids holding up some original art. And as they left, I gave each kid 2 books. I had it gender-based a little bit. The girls would get a girl-based book, whether it be Supergirl, Catwoman, something like that, and 1 superhero book, and then the boys would get 2 superhero books. Had a tremendous turnout or feedback. The kids loved it. A lot of the boys were, by the time they got done, the last class would say, "Hey, we traded books after we read them," and it kind of threw me back to old times of trading books. Maybe Bob and I probably did that a little bit.
Yeah,
than everybody else.
Still got a lot of the books I traded for. Want some of the ones I traded away back, but that's another story.
yeah, it probably cost us more money in the long run.
Absolutely.
So I want to throw out a little challenge to anybody who has. I hear some of y'all going more towards digital and more towards trade paperback and getting rid of some issues because it does take up a lot of space, and not everybody is a collector. So I want to challenge everybody out there to actually donate their books to a school or get in touch with, everybody knows some school teachers, find you some, and if you have the affinity to do a talk to some classes, I'm sure they'd be more than glad. And as I've seen from these 2, and then I'm going to I've got 3 lined up already for this year. It seems to be something good, and it seems that most all the kids have given me great feedback. I got a message from a mom of the first group I worked with, and her daughter. The teacher told me before we went in that this young lady was very artistic. So I actually took a piece of original art that was drawn by a local comic book artist who is a female. And I showed that to her, and I said, there's you can make money at this if you're really good at it. And the stuff I taught, she was good. So her mom contacted me later and said that she actually drew her own comic book.
Oh, cool.
You're a hero, Sammy. Let's just say, no, I'm serious. That's amazing.
I do it because I enjoy comics so much. And we're so inundated with TV and pop culture and movies and stuff now, and it seems to be they're forgetting where it came from. And just like we've had this discussion before, why has Iron Man not equated into more sales for Iron Man comics, other than it's not a very good comic? But why has there not been a better, why has Avengers not went through the roof? Because of the movie.
Yeah.
So my challenge is to everybody, give your books out to some kids. I actually carry a box of books around with me, and if I see some kids, I'll give them to them. Kind of creeperish sometimes, but I try to have at least one of my 2 kids with me, or my wife, or something.
There you go. You have to have a beard, yeah.
Hey, Tim, you ever hear of the Hulk?
Hey, kids.
You want to see the Thing?
Ooh, that's terrible.
I don't want to see my giant-sized man thing number
That is
3.
great.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, God. Wow. That was a good one, Bob.
That was thanks. But Sammy, that's amazing. That's awesome. That's great.
It's just the right thing to do. You know, I've been lucky to be fairly successful in life, and where my kids are old enough now where they've gone off to college and are doing their own thing, and both of them have. I tell everybody I've got one who is a comic collector with no money, so she can't actually collect anything. She just drools over everything. And then I've got one that likes to go to the conventions with me and look at the art. She's pretty artistic, not autistic, artistic. And so she likes doing that, and then she loves to see the cosplayers. So, and I actually think I've got my wife convinced to go to our local. We're having a local Comic Con, not Comic Con kind of thing this weekend. And I think for the first time she's actually going to tag along.
That's
Awesome.
fantastic.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Shared passions are the best.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And other than that, all I've got is I want a quick shout out. I have my first acting job is completed and will be having a world premiere October 30th in one little theater here in Greensboro, North Carolina. It's a wonderful little cheesy zombie movie called Hank vs. the Undead. I've seen some scenes. We volunteered to go play zombies last year, and then he came back and decided he wanted to do a feature-length film instead of just a short film. So he put some parts up, and I tried out for one or applied for one, and I was lucky enough for him to take me, and I got to play a hobo for about 3 scenes.
Sweet.
So go like his Twitter page. It's Hank vs. the Undead versus VS, and their Facebook page is Hank vs. the Undead.
Awesome.
Nice.
Well, good luck with the premiere, Sammy.
Thank you.
And honestly, that was an awesome story. We're honored to have you as a listener.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We're honored to have somewhere where we can talk about this stuff and discuss it. You know, it used to be hang out at the comic book store, which I still do from time to time, but you know, life kind of interrupts that stuff, and so it's nice to have somewhere to talk about this stuff. I love this live thing, so I know y'all can't do it a lot, but it's pretty cool. It makes us all feel like we're, you know, have a little say in the deal.
Awesome.
Well, you guys
You
are a
have lots
very,
to say,
very
yeah.
big part of this.
You have a huge say in what we do. Thank you so much for calling in, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Take care, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
This is so awesome.
Yeah, it's great. This is great. All right, so we have about 15 minutes till our next caller. Steve, tell us about your book of the week.
All right. Well, a little ways back, Stephanie was talking about a book. It was her book of the week called Naja, and once again, it's by J.D. Morvan with art by Bengal. I'll try to paint a picture for you as best as I can. There's a girl. She comes from an abusive home and kind of lives a life of crime with her best friend. Best friend and girl get into a car accident. Girl decides that she's going to change her name, change her life, and change everything about herself. So she goes away and she becomes an assassin, working for a man goes by the name of Zero. Zero is a person who has 3 assassins in his employ, and they're ranked. The girl who was in the car accident who becomes Naja is number 3, and then there's number 2 and number 1. There's a 4th party that comes into the story and basically says, 1 and 2, says to Naja, 1 and 2 are gunning for you. They're trying to take you out. They want to, and he goes around to each one. He goes to 1, he goes to 2, and he goes to 3, and he gives them each a different message and a different motive to kill the other, and basically just sets them loose. Okay? The thing about this book is it's not so much about the story, even as amazing and complex and as large as the story is. I mean, this is like jet-setting kind of stuff with assassinations in all different parts of the world, inside of prisons, inside of hotels, often, you know, tropical landscapes and stuff like that. But it's very, very much a character-based story, And one of the most interesting things about Naja herself is that she can't feel anything. She can't feel physical pain. She's never been able to do it. Not that she can remember, and it's not because of like some like nerve damage or anything like that. She just doesn't remember ever feeling anything at all. So you have this person who decides to go into the assassination life because she wants the danger. She wants the thrill. She wants to be captured. She wants to be tortured. She's looking for a way to get into a situation where somebody will actually cause her pain. It's this very like masochistic mindset for getting into, you know, the assassination game. And couple with that, you know, these other characters, you have 1 and 2 who have got their own weird motivations for working for this character Zero, and you have them going after each other all over the world, eventually coming to a head and having to kind of work together in a way, and just exposes characters inside of a comic book and inside of a world that are all so complex with, and no spoilers whatsoever, I would not dare spoil this for you. The final 2 chapters of this book blew my mind in terms of flipping the tables, changing identities, and all of this stuff. And the book has got this kind of like weird, not weird, but just like an eroticism to it. You have this character who can't feel anything and who is looking for someone to cause her pain. The fourth party actually in one scene manages to capture her and basically like truss and tie her up to deliver his message and tell her, you know, these other killers are coming for you and whatnot, and leaves a set of bruises across her knees. Throughout the book, she actually makes efforts to keep the bruises there because for some reason this fourth party, the moments that they shared, she fell in love with him. Can't quite put her finger on why, but she wants to keep the markings that he left as a reminder of his presence, and she's looking to get back with him after everything is over. I can't recommend this enough. When we go into our books of the year and we have our graphic novels of the year, this is definitely going to be one of my nominations. The words and plot written by J.D. Morvan is spectacular and really complex. I'm not going to lie to you. The last 2 chapters are very much an information dump and will definitely shit on your brain a little bit. But the payoff is so absolutely sweet. And it's like the only way that it could have ended. Like I can't think of any other way that would have been satisfying within the last couple of pages that this wraps itself up. And the art by Bengal is just spectacular. He uses these crazy, like emotive, bright and dark colors. It's very much in the vein of like an anime or a manga in the design of it and the way that it's presented. But just like I said, read it for the story, because the story is spectacular, but stay for the characters and let the characters and who they are and what they stand for emotionally, let it like affect you. The character of Naja is extraordinarily complex and, like I said, very masochistic, and this goes into very strange arenas in terms of who people are and what they mean to you and how you've known people forever, and they're not always who they seem. And oh god, if I don't want to ruin, I'm gonna shut up because I don't want to ruin anything. But seriously, Naja, and it's from Magnetic Press, $29.99. Beautiful hardcover book. I'd heard about this before. Stephanie had brought it to our attention, and then she raved about it, and I found it in when I was away in Canada this past week and had to grab it, and I'm so glad that I did. Just a ridiculously good read. So that is my very enthusiastic book of the week.
Awesome.
So amazing.
Stephanie's having a big week with recommend stuff to us.
She reads really good stuff.
Yeah.
I've got good taste. What can I say?
Mm-hmm.
We agree.
I'm not going to go that far.
Whoa.
Shut up, Bobby. No one likes you.
That's very mean.
And that's a lie.
Well, you were mean too.
I wasn't as mean as that, though. That was
I'll
extra
take it
mean.
back if you take it back.
I didn't say anything. I said I wouldn't say that. All right? You said nobody likes me. Oh, my confidence is broken. All right, so I'll go into my book of the week. Then we have a couple minutes before we have our next listener calling in. So it was an interesting week because I read a bunch and I enjoyed. It was one of those weeks where I enjoyed just about everything I read, but did not go crazy for really any of the books.
Oh.
Liked a lot of them. Liked them a lot. I mentioned some of the Future's End books earlier, and I liked those pretty much across the board. The ones I read, and I've been trying to read a little Batman Eternal, trying to catch up with that a little bit.
It's really good.
Scott Snyder had been tweeting two weeks ago that the issue 21 was a great jump-on point for people, so I picked it up, and that's also entertaining, but just not something that was really grabbing me. I did want to talk about, however, though, much like Gail Simone is ending her run on Batgirl with Future's End, Jeff Lemire and Andre Sorrentino are ending their run on Green Arrow with this Future's End book. And so we've got the flash forward 5 years, and if anyone who's read any of the weekly Future's End book, which I read very little of, just a few issues, Ollie plays a very big role in the first issue. Something kind of major happens. This book is kind of dealing in I guess before that event happens, and it's interesting because we're flash forwarded. Ollie is no longer Green Arrow. He's kind of been doing his own thing. He's almost like very kind of embraced, and he's almost like a ecological Tony Stark in a lot of ways. Like very much what Ollie does anyway in the older stuff. He's crusading for justice and for equality.
The underdogs and all.
Exactly, and to do that, he's kind of had his I am Iron Man moment, right, where they know he's Oliver Queen is Green Arrow. So this character named Miko, who is a major player in Lemire's run, takes over as Green Arrow, and she has an assistant as well. Another character who is prevalent in the previous run, and we get to see a lot of the stuff that Lemire did earlier about the Outsiders and this clan of kind of ancient clan of warriors that is the genesis of the Green Arrow persona. There's an Arrow clan, I can't remember the names. There's a Sword clan. All these things, like Katana is the head of the Sword clan. They all have a place. Yeah. And it's a really interesting story and a really nice way to end this run on the book, and kind of go like, okay, this is what it would have been like if we had kept going for all of these years. Here's all the plans we had, all that kind of stuff. That's what it felt like in a lot of ways, and I think the Lemire run has been really, really good, really different. Has done what I think a lot of the New 52 stuff has had to do to be good, which is it's taken the character and removed them from any sort of giant, universe-spanning stuff, and taken them in and really just, separated them from the outside world and made it about that character and shaping that character. And I think he's done a really good job with that. Obviously, we've talked about in the past, Green Arrow's had a million different, personalities and ways they've approached him. It seems like a character that they never have really been able to nail down. Some of those traits have been there, but at one point he's a he's a savage hunter. At one point he's a doting husband. At one point he's a playboy billionaire. At one point he's a social justice warrior.
He's the super hippie, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So there's just so much going on, right, with the character, and you kind of have to go through his history and pick out certain runs to decide kind of who your Green Arrow is going to be. And I think that I don't know if this is going to be one of those runs that people talk about, if it's going to be something that people remember. But I think it took the character from being really in the dregs of the New 52 into a character who is ready to be a major player there. It doesn't hurt, obviously, that mysteriously, because of the television show, Green Arrow has become probably one of the most famous characters at the company at this point, and it's primed to be a really big part of the DC universe. Yeah, Steve?
The question is, will you be following Green Arrow into the next creative team?
I will, because it is the Green Arrow. It's the Arrow guy, like one of the writers on Arrow is writing the book. So I think that it could be. Maybe I said it's going to come more in line with the show in some ways, but still be very much comic book oriented.
So next issue is the jumping on point.
I would say so, yeah.
Well then.
Yeah, I would check it out. I would also go back and check out the Jeff Lemire stuff, because it's got some really interesting stuff.
Yeah, in another year and a half when it's all out.
Yeah, exactly. But a really good run, nice way to end it. The art it's going to be, the only thing it's going to be is the art's going to be not nearly as inventive, obviously, because there's not a lot of people who look like Andrea Sorrentino when it comes to art. But we'll have to see.
Do we have the name of the artist for the new one?
We do. I do not remember off the top of my head. We talked about it when we did the announcement. I'll look it up.
Okay.
As we go on. But yeah, good stuff. I hope that it keeps going, and I do wish this is its own thing. I do wish we had I do wish that I miss the marriage aspect of the character. I miss the relationship aspect of the character. I hope they bring that back in some way. But what we got here was a great, along that line of kind of like the Longbow Hunters sort of Mike Grell stuff. It's more in that line than the other stuff.
But it sounds as if Lemire tried to piece together everything. And that can work. You have to be very careful how you pick and choose it, but that sounds pretty excellent. I may have to go back on this myself. I was not interested.
Yeah. All right. Perfect timing. We have our next caller.
I know who it is.
Kelly Heron, thank you so much for joining us on Talking Comics 150.
Hey, how are you?
What's up?
Doing great.
Good. Sorry, I was listening and I was just like, oh crap, I'm kind of gonna interrupt Bobby, aren't I? I don't know if I should wait or whatever. So
you waited the perfect amount of time. Perfect amount of time. I was literally just finishing. I know the stream's probably a couple seconds behind or whatever. I was just finishing up when you rang in. So.
Awesome. Well, hey everybody.
What's up, Kelly?
Thanks for checking in.
So you guys if you guys watched the book clubs, and you've seen Kelly before. She is a frequent contributor there. She was on the last Root and Boarded we did months ago when those Russians stream bombed our.
He drinks until he falls out of his ass.
Oh my god, it was so funny.
Yeah, Russian 15-year-olds bombed our stream.
And I have a surprise. They're calling in later.
Oh really?
I made arrangements.
Nice.
Oh god, I really missed them. I would love to know what their book of the week is. I can't wait.
I would have to say Das Vidanya to them.
There you go.
Kelly, so what do you got for us?
So my question is, since it's the 150th episode, is which episode are you the most proud of and why? And I guess as an additional follow-up, it's what is one thing you'd want to accomplish for the site of the podcast within the next 150 episodes?
Wow.
Whoa.
Good question, Kelly. Good question.
I think I have a good answer for this already.
All right. Go.
For as far as the one that I think I'm most proud of, it was our first Women in Comics Week show. Because, no one had really done anything like that on the internet that I know of, and it was something that we were all really passionate about, and passionate about making it, not about a rant or anything, but just a straight-up celebration of women in comics. And that whole thing came together so awesomely, and everyone was so on board with the idea and the concept behind it. And I think it embodied everything that we've been trying to kind of accomplish with the site from day one. And for me, it was just a really proud moment to be able to tweet about this and be like, this is a thing that we're doing, and this is a thing that we want to do regularly. And that was something that made me feel like we could help change the face of how, women in comics are thought about and portrayed and seen.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, going off of that, I think for me it's the Wonder Woman panel. I think is the one for me the next year.
I would.
Talking comics, because I think that we got great guests, lined up. Obviously, we have a Wonder Woman expert that is on the podcast every week, who's sitting here with us.
Thank you,
and Bob. But to have Trina Robbins and Greg Rucka, and I think really, having Carolyn there
and Mara.
Having the educational aspect of it was astounding, because you could hear Greg Rucka, who wrote Wonder Woman, being taking the back seat to the things that Mara and Carolyn were saying, because they were coming at it such a perspective.
Yeah.
And I thought that was an amazing thing, and I feel like dedicating a show to one thing like that, and really for us, except for Bob was obviously leading that panel, kind of stepping away from it, and seeing just something that we kind of planned and set into motion. Creating that, I was extremely proud of that, because it wasn't something that we were forcing ourselves. It was kind of organic in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds awfully self-serving, but I don't mean it to be that way, but I was trying to ask questions, and I actually had chills. Sitting here trying to, well, for anyone who's listened, I blew the opening so badly because I was so nervous in this company online and in the room that how do I do that? Can I even do this? And setting those people free to discuss this with such passion. Yeah, for me that's my best moment that we've done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, again, the Wonder Woman panel is definitely one of the highlights in our podcasting career. Just was so enamored with everyone involved on that show and just being quiet and listening and hearing all the expertise and all of the different, everybody brought their own strength to the conversation.
Yeah.
And it was just a very inspiring thing. If I could just choose one more thing alongside would be our Kelly Sue and Emma Rios interview that we had done. I mean, having Trina Robbins on the show, anytime we've had her on has been a hoot. But that Kelly Sue and Emma Rios interview was, in one word, was inspiring. Just absolutely inspiring. The moment where Kelly Sue goes off and just addressed every one of our listeners with, her opinions and a mission, and just she was flawless in those moments. And I just remember sitting back and listening and just silently in my head just being like, damn right, that's fucking awesome. and was beaming with pride when I heard that. And if I could just, one more little thing, I go away a lot, and sometimes I'm away from the show. I always listen to the show when I'm away if I'm not on it. The very next morning, I listen to the show. And each and every time that I do, I am so proud of what we've accomplished and the show that we've created, that Bobby, brought to the table.
Yes.
and
kudos to our fearless leader.
Yeah, we all put together this amazing team. And when I step away from the show and I listen to it just as a listener, I am so happy to be a part of this thing, and just how awesome the show itself, minus me, really is. So that's a credit to us and to Bobby as well.
I say, and one of the best moments for me, though, the first moment where I felt like something was going on with us was that first Scott Snyder interview, because I remember we got him on, and we played it. We put it pretty cool talking to him, but the whole time my heart was like racing the entire time. Yeah. And when we stopped recording, we push stop on the recording, we're like, we just talked to Batman. So that was
actually.
Yeah. So,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead, Kelly.
I was gonna say, that was actually my second episode I ever listened to with you guys. And I thought, I was like, holy crap, they're talking to Scott Snyder. They're like a big deal. I had no idea. You guys played that so cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. I mean, we had some great guests before Scott came on the show. Some people who gave their time to us when we barely had any listeners at all.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew Foley was our first guest, and Curtis Weeb, and went out of my brain. Oh, Brian Buccellato.
Yes.
Brian Buccellato, are all on the show. And before that, and when we barely any listeners, and that was amazing for them just to give their time just to talk about comics.
We had Alan Kistler.
Alan Kistler, yeah. Alan's awesome.
He is awesome.
Yeah.
Sizzler Kistler.
Yeah,
Sizzler Kistler came on. Joey Esposito.
Joey Esposito, yeah. Joey's the man.
He is.
Oh yeah, I got to hang out with him a bit at Baltimore this weekend too.
Oh yeah, I saw you guys tweeting back and forth.
Yeah, he was selling. He was set up with Pawn Shop and everything. And I got to meet one of his artists on that, Drew Zucker.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And Sean Van Gorman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a nut.
He gave me a copy of Toe Tag Riot, but it took me about 2 days to realize that's who he was. And then I was like, oh. But Joey is cool people. He is rad as heck.
Yeah. I used to when Joey was at IGN, he used to do his IGN Assemble podcast. People would write in and ask questions like, "Oh, what if you're trying to get started writing about comics? What should you do?" And he would always mention our site as a place to, always. So awesome guy. And as for the next 150, Kelly, as the follow up to your question, that's a really good one. We have some plans in the works for stuff right now, but for me, one of the things that was struck me when we did the Batgirl interview with Brendan and Cameron was that we really got a chance, and it was really, we asked the questions, but they ran with it, the kind of the process questions. I would really, I think I've been talking with Stephanie about this for I think all 3 years we've been doing this show, wanting to get like the entire team on a book, like from writer to colorist to letterer, all together and do like a themed week where we talk to all of them and we get all the pieces and how a book comes together, kind of putting together an issue. I would love to put that together.
Yeah.
And I also really always wanted to do, and it's just, again, I have to do it, like a magazine-style show, like a This American Lifestyle show, where I go in and interview people about one topic really in depth. And that's something I really want to do, because I think that the next step is to just get deeper into the stuff that we love and get really into the trenches with that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's for me in the next 150.
Yeah. Well, we've had interviews where it's been the creative team, as you mentioned with Kelly Sue and Emma, Steve, or we had Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Conner here, where you're getting two people bouncing off each other. First of all, it's less work for us, because we don't have to ask any questions. These people just want to talk, and you don't want to ask any questions. You don't want to get involved except to say, yeah, but what about, and just let them go. The deeper theme things, when we've done single theme episodes, or my silly histories, whatever, it's really fun to be able to say, look, we're already rerun long. We go 2 hours, change, whatever. But there's some of these things that our topic could be 3 hours by itself. And so, yeah, a magazine show where you could go for that would be a lot of fun. One thing I am very proud of, and it's more about our community than us, is that the people who comment on the articles, the people on our forums who've created this family, and that we had something to do with that they caught some vibe from the four of us and the way we interact with each other. Even when we disagree, we disagree respectfully, with love in our hearts, as corny as that sounds, and we're that safe corner of the internet. And I didn't know from forums. Who knew from such things? I always say I didn't know what a podcast was till I was on one. And just to interact with so many amazing people that have become part of this, kudos to you folks for being so awesome.
One day I'm going to release those 50 episodes of Fanboy Remix that you're on, so people can listen to them and get even more Bob Ryer.
Oh, do we really? I've already bombed Brian's talking movies. What was he? He had the 2-minute thrill or whatever it was.
Spill.
Yeah, and I did 23.
Yeah.
Yes.
Steve, what are you looking forward to the next 150?
What am I looking forward to? Well, one thing that I think we've mentioned that we're going to put it together at some point, but I think we mention it here and there on the show. We touch on it, but I think something to the effect of an anti-bullying week, I think, would be spectacular. Because of a lot of people within our community, within our family of fans and listeners and whatnot, and the forums and everything, we have created a safe place for people to go and talk about comics. I had a friend I've known her probably since the first grade, who contacted me on Facebook the other day and was asking for a suggestion. She said, "You're into comics?" I said, "Well, yes, I am." She goes, "Where can I go to talk to like other ladies about, comic related stuff?" And I said, "Listen, not to, toot my own horn or not to, whatever, but go to the Talking Comics forums. You will find a really great community of people there that it's exactly what you're talking about. Like, I can ask around and find out some more, suggestions for you, but that is a place where you can be safe. It's, patrolled rather well by, a couple of key members plus, a bit of staff and whatnot. And as far as what I'm looking forward to for the next 150th, just the growth of the podcast. We've gained a lot of followers and new listeners in the past episodes, and just comics is one of those things that it keeps giving, and it keeps giving us new things to talk about, and it moves so quickly. And there are times when things happen 5-6 days and we can't talk about it yet, but it's always there. And I would, if I could, I would love to see us get even bigger and move into a bigger arena down the road, and just bring more and more people into a website and a show and everything that we bring, even the other podcasts with Stephanie, with the Misfits and Talking Games and Talking Valiant and Talking Movies. We offer a large variety of places that people can go and feel safe and talk safely about these topics. And I think that that's really our crowning achievement, is almost effortlessly and because of the people that have gravitated to our show, it created itself.
Mhm.
And I'm just so proud of that. And I'm in the next 150 episodes, I want to see that grow 150 times bigger than it is right now.
All right.
Awesome.
Awesome. All right,
Great
Kelly.
questions, Kelly.
Great question.
Yeah.
You're the best.
Yeah, thank you. Very good, awesome answer.
When's our next book club, by the way?
I'm working on it.
Okay, cool. Cool.
Putting me right in the spot there, Bob.
We're working on it. We're doing it.
Okay.
All right, Kelly. Well, thank you so much for calling in, and thank you for being an awesome part of this community.
And thank you for having me on the show, and have a great show, you guys. And here's to another 150.
All right, Kelly.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kelly.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right, Mara is calling in.
Yeah, Mara.
Mara.
Hey,
Hello.
Hey.
how are you guys?
Good.
Good. How are you today?
How are you doing? It's been a long time, Mara.
I know, I've been so busy.
I know. Work and school.
I know.
Too much.
She makes time for me, Bobby.
I know. Well, I'm not special enough, apparently.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to recording this week's The Misfits. I've got my list mostly ready.
No, me too.
What's your topic?
Five favorite comic book characters.
Whoa.
It's a big
I know.
list.
That is cutthroat.
It's daunting.
It is. Well, Melissa, I suggest we were kind of like figuring out like we would do like the character thing. And Melissa's like, let's just do everything. Let's like make it like broad spectrum. And then we got like an email from Melissa.
Like the next day.
Yeah, she's like, I can't do this, guys. I can't do it. Like, I'm freaking out. There's too many. So we've dialed it back.
All right.
Thank goodness.
We've been getting like a ton of responses in the forums though already.
Yeah, which, I'm kind of pleased about that and how diverse. I don't know, it's interesting being a comic book fan. You can be a fan of almost anything now.
Yeah,
it's just
true.
It's almost hard to find the common ground within being a comic book fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So look for that. Even though Mara doesn't have time for me, she has time to do the Misfits. All right.
Sorry.
What's going on with Comics and Coffee?
Ask Mara.
Mara.
Oh, man.
Mara, who am I supposed to share my coffee with on Friday morning? Explain.
Well, okay, here's the issue. On Friday mornings, I have 7:30 meetings.
Yeah.
And in
new.
school districts.
Yeah.
So unless you guys want to do it at 6.
No, that's okay.
6 my time.
That's 5 my time.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. We'll figure it out. We have to reposition and figure some stuff out. But
yeah, because I
Why
miss
don't
it.
you do
I miss it as well.
How about Sunday morning bagels and books?
nightcaps and comics?
Yes, there you go.
Get a whole new theme song. All right, so
Okay, we don't even have a theme song.
I know.
Yes, you do. I love this guy.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah. Anything else but that.
It's pretty great.
We're starting to get requests in.
Oh,
for
really?
Different types of Misfits.
Yeah,
scatting.
they want us to like do a group
Yes.
one.
Yes.
See, that's awesome. That's way better than any theme song you possibly could have written for
Yes.
you.
Oh, I don't know.
All right, but Mara, you do write Manga Mondays for
Yes.
us, which is an awesome column, and we actually got an email. It's like this week, which it's kind of perfect timing, from Max, and he says, "Hey, Talking Comics crew, I read Seconds on the recommendation from the show, and I loved it. So first of all, thanks for suggesting it.
Nice.
It definitely seems to have more manga-ish influences than normal stuff on my pile. I was wondering if anybody at TC, maybe Mara, had some suggestions about where to go after Seconds. If I'm looking to head towards the manga end of the spectrum, but have only really read American comics up to this point. Any help would be greatly appreciated."
Well,
Ooh.
So Mara,
This is exactly the audience I wanted to tap into with Manga Mondays, because this is an audience that's already open to the visual part of reading. They love the storylines, they love the characters, they love, they've got their stories that they're following. I just, there's even more out there for you to go and spend all your money on and run out of room in your apartment. But that was the intention of starting Manga Monday is, hey, this is a series you may have never heard of. Here's a quick synopsis. Here's where you can go find it. So, yeah, this is the kind of question I've been living for lately. So it's hard to just recommend a book to someone straight out. But I will say what worked for me getting into manga, because I did American comics first and then manga later as an adult. And the thing that worked for me was going to my library. And I was lucky to be in a city that had a lot of teenagers who came in and ordered manga, and then it was through circulation. So definitely start with library, because you may not want to invest your money in something that you're not sure if you like or not. And then from there, don't be afraid to branch out and try everything, especially if it's free at a library. Manga is unique in that it has so many different genres within the medium that you really don't know what you're getting. No two books feel the same. So it's huge. It's hard to recommend one series to someone. That being said,
answer the question, Mara.
So short answer is just try everything. Long answer is here's some of my favorites. The big thing I want to mention with manga is that they really tap into the romance genre that American comics kind of shy away from. So if you want something more romancy, that's, hearts and, does he love me or does he hate me kind of stuff. Some of my favorites are Happy Marriage, which I've mentioned on this show before. It's kind of for an older audience. There's sex in it, which is awesome. And it's for an older.
All right.
It's written for older women. So it's kind of, an audience that may not be the primary intended for a lot of comics. Mars, which Stephanie can back me up on this, is like, I know, it'll break your heart and then make you so happy. So
you don't cry in it, you have no soul.
Yeah.
Crying manga. Oh my.
And Blackbird, which is a more recent fantasy series with, a main protagonist and the guy she's in love with, but he's also kind of a monster. Kind of branching away from the heavy romance into more drama, which is another thing that American comics really don't just do straight drama, is Peach Girl, which has that element of romance in it, but a lot of like friendship drama, and a series called Monster, which is a psychological thriller suspense series about a doctor who chooses to save a little boy's life rather than the mayor's life, and this little boy kind of grows up into be a serial killer. So
wow, that's dramatic.
Yes, and it's a really, really good. It's deep. One thing that manga's got going for it that is kind of similar to American comics, if you're into superheroes, is magical girl genres, which is basically a young woman who has some sort of fantasy or otherwise just weird power. Think Sailor Moon, Pretty Cure, Cardcaptor Sakura, just kind of like flouncy pink skirts and deadly weapons.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's kind of the stuff that I gravitate towards as a female reader who also likes things to be really badass. But I also love things that are written more for the male audience. I know it sounds kind of archaic to divide things into female audience and male audience, but really that's how they divide a lot of things in manga. So looking more towards stuff that's designed for more male and generic audience, Full Metal Alchemist is a classic. It is being republished into larger volumes, so you can grab 3 of the small volumes and 1 big volume and just go from there. And I think they're finished. I think they just recently either announced the last big volume or it came out. But otherwise, you can get it in multiple formats. Attack on Titan is a recent one that a lot of people are crazy about because of the anime. The manga is just as good. And it's currently being published right now. Inuyasha, I have not read all of that yet. I really like it. I really like Ranma 1/2 as well. So that's kind of, the epic fantasy going on with it. And then as far as like historical fantasy, Rurouni Kenshin was like my drug a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yes. The movies, the anime, the manga, like subscribing to stuff on Tumblr about it, everything Rurouni Kenshin, and the guy who did the series, studied a lot about that period and just kind of, made his own little fan fiction stuff about what's going on and came up with this great story. But that's a finished series, so you can, read it all at your leisure. And just want to point out that there are sports manga out there, and one that I really like is Prince of Tennis, which is
I've totally heard of this.
Yes, it is literally a manga about a kid who is a tennis prodigy, and it's just like tennis games, and it's just drama within tennis, but it's mostly focused on the sports aspect of it.
Wow.
It gets
So
dicey.
that's a lot, and
If you
there's
could
even
cross
more
Prince of
that I
Tennis
want to
with
try
giant
out, or
monsters.
stuff that I haven't read a whole lot of yet, because I myself am recently getting into manga, like within the past couple of years, based on a friend's recommendation of Naruto, which I started reading, didn't like it, so I tried something else. So that's how I got hooked.
Well, there's the key to it. If you try something, there's so many genres to try. Just move on to something you might like better.
Oh yeah. I mean, I go to the library and I pick like the first volumes of several different series, and then come back for the rest of the series based on what I like from there.
Yeah. Go libraries.
Yeah, they're so awesome.
No, here, my local library in my school district is really bad with comics.
Mm-hmm.
But here in Patchogue, the town we're in as we record, they have apparently recently had a huge influx. Somebody donated, as Sammy did, tons and tons of graphic novels, trade paperbacks. They're all from one fella's library. They're all little ex libris stickers inside it.
Nice.
So, and I'm sure down by you, Mara, here there's sort of interlibrary loan where you can put a request in, and if it's anywhere in the county, they'll ship it over to you.
Yeah.
So
Y'all might laugh at this, but when I lived closer to my campus, I would go to my school library and do interlibrary loan for manga and anime DVDs.
Yeah.
And I'd go pick it up because, I mean, they know me there as, as that doc student who's doing research in comic books, and they hand me like this big stack of Neon Genesis Evangelion manga and what was it, Tenchi Universe anime series, and I'm like, this is for my research. Just like turn to walk away before they ask too many questions.
Amazing.
That's like the minute I'm reading Playboy for the interviews. Yeah, sure you are. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, if you had to pick one as your absolute all-time favorite, what would you say, Mara?
Oh.
Wow. Oh.
Come on, I don't get to ask questions on the Misfits, so I'm doing it here.
You're right. Gosh. It'd be easier if you asked me like what my favorite romance one or my favorite fantasy one, but my favorite like one that I've gone, because when I think of favorite, I think of something that you go back to over and over again.
Repeat viewability, so to speak.
Yes. Yeah. Gosh.
One in each category, then, if that's easier.
Okay, it's a little easier. For like the romance drama, Blackbird. I mean, I've read that, and it's really new, and I've read it several times. With Your Magical Curl, it's got to be Sailor Moon. I mean, that series is. I mean, it's chaotic. You have no idea what's going on half the time. I think they make shit up on the go. It's still really funny. It's still really good.
Give them another talking cat.
Yes, there's two of them.
Yeah, I
They
knew
talk
it.
to each other, and they have a talking cat baby.
That's amazing.
Well, there you go. Now, which sailor are you? I know there are a whole bunch of them. If you had to pick one.
Ooh, that's good, Bob.
Okay.
I'm bringing it tonight.
We had this discussion, I think.
Yes.
Did you?
I think someone asked it. I don't know if we recorded.
Oh, yes, you
or
did.
not.
I'm sorry you did. Forget it.
But
Don't bother.
I'll say it
No,
again.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Because I'm a Sailor Mercury who wants to be a Sailor Venus. So bad. if we're gonna get really into it, I'm a Sailor Mercury who desperately wants to be Sailor Venus.
It's okay. I'm
So
Michelangelo.
We'll call myself Sailor Venus.
Okay, now Stephanie, what you?
Cosplayed, right? As
Yeah,
Sailor
I have.
Did you?
I have Sailor Venus cosplay. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's your pick,
You should do
Stephanie,
a
then?
mix. Mine would be Sailor Jupiter. I think Mara should do a cosplay though, where like half of it is Mercury and then the other half is Venus.
What, like Two-Face?
Yeah.
Does that work that way?
Yeah.
Okay.
I could do that.
I believe in.
Going into more like epic fantasy, it's definitely Full Metal Alchemist for many, many, many reasons.
Yes.
And then Rurouni Kenshin.
Yes.
So I mean that's kind of the core. It's a little bit all over the place, but those are the series that, I mean, oh, and Death Note. Shit, I forgot Death Note. How can I forget Death Note?
Shit.
Yeah. Scratch everything. I'm just kidding. Add Death Note in there. That is one series that is psychologically convoluted and will keep you on your toes the entire time. I mean, it's in my opinion, it should be considered canon, like what we as a society need to learn.
Wow.
Death Note. Definitely.
Well, I think that is a perfect way to end your segment of Talking Comics 150. Mara, thank you so much for the now years of work you've done on the site, and thank you so much for helping us celebrate 150.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love writing with Talking Comics, and we have such a great listener base, and it's just fantastic. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome, Mara.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you, Mara.
We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, bye guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, moving the train right along. We actually have three more people who are gonna grace us with their voices
Cool.
tonight.
Hot damn.
Our three new contributors, two of which we've never heard from on the podcast before. So the first one is calling in right now, and that's Courtney Key.
Sweet.
Courtney, thank you so much for calling in.
Oh. Hello, it's good to talk to everyone.
Hello, Courtney.
Hi.
So Courtney, for you guys listening out there, she is part of our new news team with Mr. Hugh Perry.
Yes.
They've been knocking it out of the park the last couple
Yes,
of
they
weeks. We're a veritable CNN now compared to what we were
I
before.
know. It's very funny that I was paired with Hugh. He lives in Cardiff, and actually one of my best friends lives in Cardiff, and I've been there a ton of times. So it's really funny that I've randomly met this other person who lives in Cardiff. And get to work with him, but yeah, it's been really great to write for the site, and I've started doing the Doctor Who TV recaps as well. This week is late because there was a big storm here and power outages and craziness, but it is coming. The Robots of Sherwood recap is coming.
Awesome. Well, Bob says he doesn't have to watch Doctor Who because he can just read your recaps.
That's right. It's so perfect. I can visualize them as they're happening.
They are very in-depth.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome.
Oh, fantastic.
So, Courtney, how's your experience been so far writing for the site?
Oh, it's been great. Everyone's been very positive. That was one of the things that really attracted me to the community in the first place and made me want to apply to write for the site was, first of all, listening to the podcast, then dynamic between all of you, and then getting involved with the forums. And of course, the first person who welcomed me to the forums was Bob, and he's I think the kind of the official forum greeter there. And everyone has been fantastic and very appreciative on Twitter as well. So I've really enjoyed it and just looking forward to continuing to produce new content and hearing from everyone about what they like, what they don't like, and so yeah.
So what has your opinion been if people are reading your recaps? Because your recaps are very in-depth. Obviously, they're very spoiler-focused. So they're not.
Yes.
So they're not really reviews. They're kind of commiseration of people who are also watching the show, which is great because I think that's it. I think TV reviews are tough things to do because it's much like reading comic books in a lot of ways because it's developing every week.
It's episodic, right?
So for people when they aren't reading reviews, maybe they're waiting on the show or they're not into Doctor Who. What have you thought of this new season?
Right. Well, I've liked it so far. I will come with a caveat that I fall more on the being a fan of the Stephen Moffat than not. I know there are people who definitely are not fans of Stephen Moffat as a showrunner, and I certainly understand that. I come to it from the perspective that I understand some of the problems that people have with his writing. I'm definitely not saying that he is perfect, but I generally enjoyed his run. So if you're looking for someone who's going to, really point out all the problems with Stephen Moffat, I'm not going to be that person. I was a huge fan of the 11th Doctor. I kind of started Doctor Who actually with the 9th Doctor, and they always say, I think that the Doctor you start with is always going to be your Doctor, but for me I think Matt Smith really was, and I was very sad when he left. And even though I love Pierre Capaldi, I'd seen him in the thick of it, and The Hour and some other shows that he'd done. I think he's a fantastic actor. I was still a little bit skeptical of him coming in as the Doctor because he wasn't my Doctor. But I've liked his portrayal. I don't know if I like his Doctor, but I don't know that you're supposed to. And I think, Bobby, you and I and Gary were talking about this on Twitter the other day. And I know you haven't actually seen it yet, but Gary was kind of talking about it. He seems to be a throwback to some of the older incarnations of the Doctor that are a little bit maybe more frightening, pricklier, a little bit more dangerous than the Doctors that we've seen since Who came back in 2005. So I find that very interesting. I do think that the character of Clara has really improved with this Doctor. I think that we're getting more of a sense of who she is as a character and what her life is outside of the Doctor. Now that she's no longer the impossible girl, she actually, has a life. She has a job as a school teacher. She has a love interest now. So that's been really good to see. I mean, there is humor in the series. I mean, it's still Doctor Who. It's still a show that's ultimately aimed at children. So, when I say it's a dark series, I mean it's not like DC Comics here, but it's a very interesting take, and I think that Peter Capaldi is doing a very good job with that character.
What have you been thinking about the comics from Boom? Right? Or is it Titan?
Yes,
Titan.
actually, sorry, it's Titan
now.
And actually, I had one of them here because I was going to talk about it. I've read both of the 10th and the 11th Doctor, and I know that last week you talked about the 10th Doctor comic, which I liked a lot. But I had checked out the 11th Doctor comic, partly because Al Ewing, who of course writes Loki, Agent of Asgard, which is my favorite, is doing it. Oh, sorry, I thought I heard Bob.
No, I was just agreeing. Al Ewing is a big favorite of mine too, and I know you love Loki. So,
but he did the first issue of this with Rob Williams, and I think then Al Ewing and Simon Fraser, who's on art, are continuing on for the rest of the series on their own. But I loved the first issue of this new 11th Doctor series. I mean, they've got the 11th Doctor's voice absolutely down. I really love the companion that they've introduced in this. It takes place right after Amy and Rory got married and went on their honeymoon. So the he's kind of traveling on his own, but he's not on his own yet. And the companion, her name is Alice, and she's a little bit of an older lady. She works, in a library, but her mother has just died, and she's going through a really hard time. And the first few panels, you see her in gray, just reflecting her mood until the Doctor bursts in and her world bursts into color, and I think that's just a really interesting image, and it's just a really lovely story. I really like the dynamic between this Doctor and the companion. I like that it's a little bit older companion, a little bit different background than the companions who we saw with the 11th Doctor. So I'm very interested to see where that series goes. And again, like I said, I mean, I love Al Ewing, so I will definitely be reading the second issue. But I think that this new run of Doctor Who comics, they've done a fantastic job with getting writers who are really able to capture those voices from the show. So definitely, if you were a fan of the 10th and 11th Doctor runs, I would give them a try. And for the 11th Doctor comic, I would say, you know, if you kind of maybe got disenchanted with the show, I might still give it a try, because I think that with the companion in this series, it addresses some of the issues that I know that some people had with Stephen Moffat's run with the 11th Doctor. So I would definitely say give it a try.
Awesome. Well, Courtney, thank you so much for calling in and chatting with us. And
you're very welcome.
And we're super psyched to have you with Talking Comics, and look forward to the next 150 episodes with you on the team.
Absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
And where can they find her on Twitter?
Oh, yeah, good.
Oh, sorry, yes. Well, I'm on the forums as Courtney K, and I am on Twitter as @Dachelle, Dachelle. That's my middle name. And you can find me because my icon is a photo of Sebastian Stan wearing a rainbow hat on his head. So,
and why
very... I think that's what got me the gig at I was pretty sure. So, on the forums, my icon is Leah from Young Avengers.
All right. Awesome.
All right. Well, great. It was good to talk to everyone.
You too, Courtney. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
And we should say, too, we didn't say for Mara either. Thank you, Stephanie, for reminding me. Stephanie, Mara is @MegaMaraman on Twitter.
You have to say it in that voice.
Mega Maraman.
Thank you, Steve.
I love it.
So awesome so far. So we have 2 more callers calling in. We're going to hear from Gary Chapin next, who writes Bundles and Arcs, the new column for Talking Comics. He just did a piece on the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, I didn't see that
comics.
one yet.
Just went up today. It's really, really great. He talks about kind of the whole kind of history of the books and where they are now and stuff like that. So he should be calling in soon. But
Sweet.
While we're waiting, I'm gonna. Well, actually, I have an answer for our 2 fictional characters.
Oh, I've got one too.
That I want to
Nice.
see battling each other. Harry Potter and Zatanna. I want to see in like a magical duel, because I think that would be a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I like that.
I like that.
Yeah. Steve, you have one?
I got She-Hulk versus Red Sonja.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think that would be. I think they would end up teaming up by the end of it, but
Yeah.
I think it would be a knockdown, drag-out fight for a good number of issues.
And then they'd find a pub.
I would love it. I would absolutely love it to at one point for She-Hulk to actually throw Red Sonja like through the panels, like across to the other page.
Oh, like in the burn.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. I've got one now, too.
Okay, go ahead.
Arya Stark and Inigo Montoya.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
That'd be
Because
awesome.
their fathers have both been killed.
It's true.
Spoilers!
Welcome, everyone.
Awesome.
Big spoilers.
If you haven't read the books or watched it by now, tough shit.
That is what everyone does when they realize they fucked up, but they want to act like it's not their fault. They yell at the people who haven't watched it yet.
I'm
Well,
3
that was my
seasons
reasoning
behind on
for-
Game of Thrones.
Do you have one, Bob?
I had one.
Oh, that's right. Swamp Thing versus
Yes, Man Thing.
Man Thing.
With the heap as a second
Right.
for somebody.
All right, we got our next call coming on in.
Oh.
All right. Hello, Gary. Is that you?
That is.
Gary, thank you so much
Welcome.
for calling in. So I was saying before, Gary is writing Bundles and Arcs for us. Talking Comics did a Planet of the Apes one today. It's been great so far. You've done a great job with that column so far.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate being invited to go on. I'm a little nervous. This is strange.
No, it's
Don't
just
be nervous.
us.
It's just us. Don't worry about it.
Here.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
I started listening to you guys, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 months ago, and then I realized you were slowly improving my quality of life.
Nice.
And then I saw the saw the ad that Stephanie posted, and I was like, oh, yeah, why not? What could happen? And then she said yes, and I was like, oh, now I'm going to be writing again.
And it's been great. I mean, people should go read the Planet of the Apes article that you put up. But what kind of inspired you to tackle that Planet of the Apes subject, Gary?
Well, if I'm honest, I would have to say that Planet of the Apes was actually one of the very first geek experiences I'd ever had in my life. I remember being in the 4th grade and watching it on the after-school movie or the 4 o'clock movie where they would cut them down to like an hour and 10 minutes.
Sure.
Whole pieces of the plot would be cut out. And that was something that I just always returned to, just the way you do throughout your life. And there's some ideas that are just so good that you just keep coming back to them. And so I had read Boom Studios' pieces a bit over the past year, but when I went back and I reread the Cataclysm maxi series, and it was really good. I mean, it was genuinely, it was not like, oh, this is good for Planet of the Apes, or this is good for a licensed product. It was an actual good story with great art, and so I decided. I mean, I really like to think about things all the way. I like to make the relationships. I don't want to just do a review. Well, I mean, I do reviews, but I really like to just follow the art through the time that I've been aware of it. And I'm stunned by how much I remembered about Planet of the Apes when I was writing that. I was like, really? I remembered Chris Claremont wrote a text piece in 1974 in Planet of the Apes Black and White magazine number 11.
Wow.
I mean, I don't even have that issue anymore. I just remembered that. So clearly these have left important footholds in my life. I can't remember the names of my students who I taught. Number 11, I remember. I feel like Bob and I are sort of kindred spirits that way.
Weird, odd, isolated facts that pop up out of nowhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you know, I just, when I listen to your show, you would say things, and yeah, that's right, I remember that too. Why would I remember that? But it makes me who I am.
Yeah,
exactly.
Weird things that stick in the brain. Just some weird stuff. I had to ask you this question too, because obviously Jack Kirby's 97th birthday just passed, and DC is doing a big New Gods event now in the Green Lantern universe, the Godhead thing, and you're kind of, your application piece for Talking Comics was this story about the Jack Kirby DC times.
Right.
I want to ask you a question and help out there, because I think I was talking to Bob about this a little bit. It's like a bizarre time and a lot of weird, interesting stuff that came out of that. Do you think it's something that's worth reading? And if it is, what do you love about it?
About the New Gods? I haven't seen the new stuff.
No, not the new stuff. I'm talking about the Jack Kirby stuff.
The Jack Kirby stuff, I think, is amazing. I think it's like modern art. People talk about how Jack Kirby, they sort of say, well, the art on those is great, but the writing is kind of clunky. The art and the writing go so perfectly well together that when the only time the writing goes bad is you can always tell when Kirby lost interest. Like when they started canceling the New Gods books, you could tell he lost interest in Miracle Man, which was the only one that went a number of issues further, because the writing became perfunctory, really. I think that some of his ideas are so bizarre. Like there's this issue where Darkseid is infiltrating this cult on Earth, and there's this scene at the end where he takes off like a rubber goat mask. It's like Darkseid, the god of evil in the universe, is wearing a rubber goat mask. Well done, Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
I love you. He's so exuberant. His ideas are so they're just I don't know. I mean, exuberant is the word.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I have on my plate to write about is the Kirby Genesis project that Dynamite is doing. I just got those. They're on my queue. So if they're good, then I'll write about them. But the 4-volume Fourth World omnibus that's out there is just a thing of beauty and a wonder to behold. It's just amazing.
That's awesome because that's not kind of the popular opinion, so it's cool to hear that perspective on it.
Well, everybody else is wrong. They just are.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Well, but the nice thing about the omnibus is that as you read them all together, it's even richer than if you just read the New Gods books or if you just read Mr. Miracle. So
cool.
Yeah, you gotta throw the Jimmy Olsens in, all the rest of it, yeah.
Oh my God, the Jimmy Olsens are so weird.
Yes.
Oh my God. It's just amazing. You're like, oh, so there's a underground cave under Metropolis that's so large that there's a highway there that can have a truck on it the size of an apartment building.
Yes.
Way to go, Jack. Yeah.
All right, well, Gary, you were nervous, but you did a great job, and your time is already done.
Thanks so much.
So I'm really excited to have you on board. Thank you so much for helping us celebrate 150, and everybody should read the Bundles and Arcs articles you've written already, and look out for more from you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks, Gary.
You have a great night, Gary.
Take care, Gary.
Have a good night.
All right.
Right.
All right, so we're almost through the gauntlet. It's amazing.
Easy so
yeah,
far.
it's been amazing.
It's been going really well.
Yeah. Amazing mix of contributors and listeners. Made our job a hell of a lot easier.
I've had my feet up this whole time.
Yeah, it's been
drinking
great.
beer.
Yeah. Steve did bring us. He brought some Newcastle
werewolf
ale.
Werewolf.
So we've been partaking in a little booze.
Escaped from Britain with only 4.5 volumes of alcohol content.
With like the howling scratches on the.
I do like. I gotta admit, I do like Newcastle. I like reds for beers, and had a werewolf on it for Crimini's sake.
Of course. So there was a question on Twitter just for Bob.
I didn't see it.
We're
so
waiting
don't
for
ask.
Nikki to write in. This is Matt Wingman Porkins, and he says, Bob, I noticed you had Amazing Spider-Man 121 in your top 10. Why not 122 with all the conflict plus epilogue with MJ?
Yeah, Bob.
Love your thoughts.
Love my thoughts. Any book where you can't have the title until the last page because that title gives it away. Are we doing spoilers?
Yes, we can do. It's a comic book show. We can do spoilers.
Okay. Well, the spoiler is this: the title of issue 121 on the last page, the day Gwen Stacy died. Wow. I mean, come on. Yeah, 122 is great. So is 123, where J. Jonah Jameson hires Luke Cage to go capture Spider-Man for killing Gwen Stacy. Oh man, Gwen. Oh come on, I love Gwen. Still love Gwen. Love Captain Stacy too. The whole family was great. I never with the mom. I don't think. I don't know. You could be right. 122 is equally as good, but I could only pick one. It was a whole question about single issues. So 121.
All right.
There's your answer.
Nikki's calling. Perfect timing. It's absolutely perfect timing.
Nikki.
All right.
Woohoo!
I met her
Nikki.
last week.
Werewolf asshole.
Whoa.
Hello.
Turn down your speakers, Nikki. I could hear myself. I know you.
Okay.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yeah. One-time contributor.
Yes.
Nikki, thank you so much for rejoining us on Talking Comics.
Thanks for having me on again. I was worried since I sassed you out, Bobby, that I wouldn't be invited back.
Stephanie's been sassing me for like 120 episodes.
Yeah.
It's probably the more sure way to stay on the show than get kicked off the show.
It's only because you deserve it.
Oh, thanks.
121.
Yeah. I'm just gonna hang up on Stephanie now. So Nikki, last time we talked to you, you were brand new to the site, and now you've had a few weeks. How's everything going?
Good. It's been busy, so I have my column that I'll probably finish tomorrow. And it's supposed to be about some new number ones on a weekly basis. I'm going to try to do them on a weekly basis, but school started up again, so it might get a little bit sporadic.
Okay.
But and just talking about a few number one issues and all ages and like trades that new comic book readers might be interested in checking out.
Wow.
So
Do you have an idea of what you're gonna pick?
for this week, well, last week the big one was The Woods by James Tinian IV and Michael, I'm going to butcher this name, Dielenas.
Perfect.
From Boom Studios, Lies, but on an alien moon. A whole school got transported to this moon, and they don't know why. It's very, very, very interesting and very. It's another horror series, but it's not too scary. So I do recommend that to everybody, just not children.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
We talk about getting sent to detention. Sorry.
We're getting late in the show, guys.
Yeah. I've had 2 beers already, okay?
Bob's pulling out like the Groucho Marx jokes.
Yeah.
Well, Nikki, what else you have the article coming out. You enjoyed The Woods, obviously. Is there anything else that you've been loving right now?
Been reading a lot of books lately. I've recently started doing reviews for The Silver Snail, so that's another heap of books that I'm reading. The Names, which came out last week, that's really interesting. It's like this murder mystery on Wall Street, and it's got evil cabals, it's got a kick-ass female protagonist. Very, very mature content, though, so it's not for kids at all.
No, not at all.
But that one was really good, and I'm really excited this week because Stumptown is coming back.
Oh, yeah.
I love the first 2 volumes. The second one in particular is just one of my all-time favorites because there's like the car chase scene that I totally fell in love with, and really excited for the new one. So I'll be picking that up.
That is Greg Rucka, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's still writing. It's a different artist,
Okay.
I think, for this 3rd volume. But yes, the first issue is coming out tomorrow, so everybody pick that up.
Do you have any? I mean, obviously you haven't read it yet, but have you heard anything about kind of if people haven't read all the previous stuff, are they going to be able to read this, or you think that you have to kind of go back and read the other stuff?
It's totally something that's just by a case. It's about a PI, a private investigator, and it's just a case-by-case basis, I guess. So you can totally start now with the first issue. I think I started with the first volume, but each volume just totally throws you into the action. Like it's very, very much new reader friendly, each volume. So
The true detective of comics.
yes.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I mean, Crime Story by Greg Rucka is never a bad thing.
Rucka.
Always a good thing.
And Dex Parios, I actually have to redo my 5 favorite characters list now because she's actually one of my favorites. But I don't want to take out any of the ones that are currently on my list. Oh no.
5A.
Honorable mentions.
Yes.
That's what they're for.
Yeah. And for sneaking in characters that you're too stressed out about putting on your actual list.
You don't want to
I
insult
know.
any of them. You have
No,
to
of
keep
course
them
not.
there. Yeah.
Gotta be very political.
Very stressful.
Exactly.
Picking your favorites. You don't want to leave anybody out.
People get very stressed. I've noticed that people get very stressed out about making this. I don't get stressed out about it at all. But every time I bring it up, some people are like, "Oh man, come on, what are you doing to me?" And I'm like, I don't know, just ask you to write down 5 things on a
The
list.
number
Like
5
Steve.
spot. The number 5 spot is rough because you have to make that call. You have to, kick somebody out of the club. And it's that fifth spot is so hard because you have no more left after that.
I have like a weird way of making lists because sometimes for me on a list, like something will be either number 3 or it won't be on the list.
Wow.
It's like a weird thing for me. Like I don't know how that happens in my brain, but I'm like, this isn't number 4 or number 5. It's either number 3 or it's not there because I have number 4 and number 5. It's a weird.
Oh, you build it from the. See, I build from the top.
I don't build it in order at all. Like I tend to build all out of order. Usually I have number 1 in my brain like already, and number 1 will be the first thing I write down.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it'll be that very close. Like I was choosing between these 2 things, so that's number 2, obviously very easily. And then I'm usually okay with number 5 because I'm like, I always know that thing that I really really love, but it's just not quite there, and that's what number 5 is. I don't know. I designate for some reason in my brain, like each place on the list has like almost like a sub-designation to me in my brain. Like, this is what number 5 means. This is what number 4 means. This is what number 3 means.
Yeah, I hear that.
I don't know why, but my brain automatically does it. It's a weird thing.
I like it.
It's not that weird.
It's a weird thing.
It's a plan. It could help me.
Yeah. So making lists, stressing Nikki out. Oh man. All right. Well, Nikki, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for writing with us and joining our family.
Thanks for having me, and I must say it was very nice meeting Steve in real life.
That's right.
At Fan Expo.
It was
seeing
nice, wasn't
Stephanie
it?
Again.
No, seriously, you were so awesome. I was so glad to meet you and to. It's rough to meet up with people at cons. You can't always coordinate and get everything together, but we had a really good hub for a meeting up between the Silver Snail crew and Danny from Suckers Apparel, and of course Stephanie, hanging out around there. It was just a really good nexus for meeting up with people, and you were lovely, and it was definitely an honor to hang out with you for the few minutes that we got to talk.
Yeah, totally. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Of course.
Thank you.
No problem.
Talk again soon, Nikki. Have a great night.
You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. So that's it for our run of special guests.
Oh man,
They were special
on the Talking
across
Comics
the board.
150th episode live call-in show. This was a great time. We'll definitely do more of these. We'll definitely do them more often than every 50 because it was great to do this and a lot of fun. I just want to give a quick thanks to everybody who joined us: Joey Braccino, James Hammond, Mike Kelly, Sammy Cassell, Kelly Herron, Adam Shaw, Mara Wood, Courtney Key, Gary Chapin, and Nikki Alfaro. Thank you guys so much, everybody.
Thank you
for joining us.
Seriously,
150 went by very quickly, and hopefully we'll have 150 on the way. So let's talk about what's out on the shelves right now.
Today is a huge day.
Is that
tomorrow?
Is that okay, Stephanie?
Yeah.
Did you have something else you want to talk about? Do you want to sass me a little bit more?
Crack the whip, Steph.
Not right now.
Okay.
It's getting late.
Yes, it is.
I think I've hit my SAS quota.
I do want to think, we kind of sort of answered it, but on Twitter, Juicerelli asked us if we ever thought we'd get this big, but he also said proud to say he's been a listener since day 1.
That's
so
awesome.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Amazing stuff. So let's talk about what's on the shelves right now. I'll make sure I have the right list up. Yes, because tomorrow is the 10th. Because we're actually doing this live, so I don't have to pretend like
there you
it's the
go.
next day. But if you're listening to this tomorrow, then it's today. So let's see here. From Archie Comics Publications, we have Betty and Veronica number 272, and Sonic Super Special Magazine number 12. From Avatar Press, we have Caliban number 6. We have Dick's End of Time number 4.
I'm sorry.
From Boom Studios.
That was him, not me.
I know. We have Black Market number 3. We've got those are reprints. Let's see. Boop, 99. There we Hexed number 2. We've got that's another variant cover. Suicide Risk number 17. Teen Dog number 1, which Joey spoke very highly about earlier.
I'm totally buying that.
Thomas Alsop number 4. And we also have Wild's End number 1. From Dark Horse Comics, we've got Ape Sapien number 16. We've got Dark Ages number 2. We have got Prometheus Fire and Stone number 1, which begins the whole big Dark Horse Alien Universe series of stuff. Yeah.
Oh man.
Prometheus, Alien. So Prometheus, Aliens, Predator, and is it Alien as well? I don't remember.
Yeah, well, it was Prometheus.
Or it's
so
Alien versus Predator. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's Alien versus Predator as well. Big, great teams. Paul Tobin, Joshua Williamson, like crazy teams. Like Greg Rucka and Kelly Sue DeConnick are consulting on stories and stuff.
This starts tomorrow?
It starts tomorrow, yeah. Prometheus, Fire and Stone.
Check your email.
From DC Comics, we've got Astro City number 15, Batgirl's Future's End number 1. That's the last
Gail Simone.
Last Gail Simone. And we'll definitely tackle that next week. We'll have
Secret
discussion
6
about that.
confirmed.
Yeah, Secret 6. We didn't
Yeah.
talk about any news. Secret 6
Yeah.
is a thing. It's real. It's happening, which is awesome.
Yes.
We've got Batman Eternal number 23, Batman Future's End number 1, Birds of Prey Future's End number 1, Coffin Hill number 11, Constantine Future's End number 1, Green Lantern Corps Future's End number 1. We've got Infinity Man, The Forever People Future's End number 1. Injustice Gods Among Us Year 2 number 11. Justice League United Future's End number 1. We've got New 52 Future's End number 19. New Suicide Squad Future's End number 1. Superboy Future's End number 1. Superman Unchained number 8. World's Finest Future's End number 1. So that's all the DC stuff that's coming out.
That's going to be really fun for the rest of the month.
Yes, especially reading them is going to be extremely fun. We did have it's been confirmed Supergirl show is in production.
Yes.
Or is being developed right now. Same one of the producers, Greg Berlanti of Arrow and The Flash, is heading that up. Lots of rumors and hearsay. We don't know anything really too much about it yet. And also, crazy rumor today that broke that Warner Brothers is working on a Legion of Superheroes movie.
Yes, I had read they want to do their own version of Guardians.
Yeah.
So ragtag team of superheroes in the future.
That rumor is just crazy enough that it could be true. From Dynamite Entertainment, we've got Captain Action Cat, The Time Stream Catastrophe, number 4. Captain Victory, Captain Victory and the Galactic Rangers, number 2. Chastity, number 3. Dawn Vampirella, number 1. We've got Jennifer Blood, Born Again, number 2. We've got Lady Zorro, number 3. Magnus Robot Fighter, number 6. Robotech Voltron, number 5. Shadow Year 1, number 10. $6 Million Man, Season 6, number 6. Terminal Hero, number 2. And Tom Clancy, Splinter Cell Echoes, number 3. From IDW, we've got G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, number 206. Judge Dredd Anderson, Psy Division, number 2. We've got Mars Attacks Art Gallery, number 1. My Little Pony Friends Forever, number 9. Popeye Classic, number 26. Rot and Ruin, number 1. We've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Animated Adventures, number 15. Transformers Primacy, number 2. And Weird Love, number 3. From Image Comics, we've got 68 Homefront, number 1. We've got Copperhead, number 1. Death Vigil, number 3 of 8. East of West, number 15. Ghosted, number 13. How Toons, Reignition, number 2. Imperial, number 2. Invincible, number 114. Lazarus, number 11. Morning Glories, number 40. MPH, number 3. Prophet Strike File, number 1. Sheltered, number 11. Spread, number 3. Superannuated Man, number 3 of 6. Velvet, number 7. Walking Dead, number 131. And also, Volume 2 of Zero comes out as well.
Nice.
Marvel Comics, we've got All New Ultimates, number 8. We've got Amazing Spider-Man, number 6. Avengers, number 34.1. Avengers Undercover, number 10. Captain Marvel, number 7. We've got Deadpool, number 34. Death of Wolverine, number 2. Just going to keep hitting $5 every week. Edge of Spider-Verse, number 1. Fantastic Four, number 10. George Romero's Empire of the Dead, Act 2, number 1. We've got Guardians of the Galaxy, number 17. Hawkeye, number 20. Inhuman, number 5. Magneto, number 9.
Oh, my God.
We've got Marvel 70th Anniversary Magazine Special Edition, number 1.
Yes, all sorts of stories, including the Stan Goldberg.
Oh, really?
Young Spidey story.
Wow. We've got Ms. Marvel, number 8. New Warriors, number 9. Nightcrawler, number 6. Powers Bureau, number 11. United States of Murder Inc., number 5. X-Force, number 9. From Oni Press, we've got Bunker, number 6. We've got Stumptown, Volume 3, number 1. Wasteland, number 57. Let's see here. We got no Valiant books this week. I don't think. Oh wait, I didn't get there yet. From Titan Comics, we have Doctor Who: The 11th Doctor, number 2 is out, and that is it from Titan. And then from Valiant, Archer and Armstrong, number 24, Armor Hunters Harbinger, number 3, and that is it. Also for Valiant, from Zenoscope, we've got Goddess Inc. number 2, Grim Fairy Tales number 102. Inferno Rings of Hell number 2 and Realm Wars number 2. Just assume in Zenoscope when I don't say a full title, it's Grim Fairy Tales Presents, then the title that I said, because that's always what it is. All right, and that's everything that's going to be on the shelves this week.
Steve ran through a whole piece of paper.
Yeah, I had because somebody, I forget who it was, I apologize. Somebody on Twitter asked me earlier how many, I mentioned that it was going to be a huge day. They asked me how many books I was getting. I just counted all those titles. The answer is 21.
Oh my god. That's a lot of books, dude.
I don't know that that's going to happen.
That's a lot of books.
That's a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
I might have to make some sacrifices. We'll see.
Not to mention, it might be a couple of trades you want.
No. Luckily, my situation is about to change, money-wise, and I could actually do this if I wanted to.
Nice.
All right.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Cryptic.
Yeah.
Cryptic as hell.
He mugged an old lady on the way up the stairs.
Gives me your broad.
Let go, you old bag.
All right. So thank you guys so much, everybody who listened live and stuck with us for all these 2 hours and 40 minutes. You guys rock. Thank you to everybody who's listening tomorrow or Thursday or Friday or whenever you're listening to this. Thank you to anyone who's ever listened to the show and anyone's ever contributed and written in. You guys are awesome. And we look forward to the next 150. If you want to get in touch with us, though, at Talking Comics on Twitter, Facebook.com/TalkingComics, TalkingComicBooks.com is that website, and podcast at TalkingComicBooks.com is the email address. You heard a bunch of our fantastic contributors tonight. Make sure you read their articles, comment on their articles, let them know that you're supporting them and what you think. Constructive criticisms, we all welcome it. Just make sure that it's constructive and it's respectful, and we will have awesome discussions. You heard Adam Shaw before. Make sure you check out Talking Valiant, his podcast. Make sure you check out Talking Movies with Brian Verderosa and Chris Oliphant. The Misfits with Stephanie Cook, Mara Wood, and Melissa Megan, doing their top 5 comic book characters of all time for their next show.
Yeah, you can submit. There's a topic on the forum, so you can submit what yours are, and we'll read them out on the show.
Awesome. Talking Games, hosted by Steve Say. He makes his return.
I do.
This week.
We're going to be talking about some PC games this week.
I'm sure you'll talk a little bit about Destiny, too.
Oh, yeah. And some Diablo.
A little game that came out
1
this
to
week.
64.
What?
In a few days. I leveled a wizard character to level 64 within the span of a few days. It
Amazing.
Was epic.
He didn't have this beard before he started playing Diablo.
This is my Diablo beard.
Wow.
If you want to get in touch with me, it's at Bobby Shortle on Twitter. Steve.
My Twitter handle is at @dead_Anchorus.
Stephanie.
I'm at Hello Cookie.
And Bob, your email address.
Bob Ryer at TalkingComicBooks.com, and then of course there's my new Twitter account. No, I'm kidding.
All the collective voices just went off in the song and then died.
I know.
It'll happen someday, Bob. Never say never.
Auditory blue balls.
Oh,
we'll
man.
See, Stephanie. We'll see.
Next time, Gadget.
Really, guys, thank you so much for listening. For Steve.
Later.
Bob.
Thanks so much, everyone.
And Stephanie.
Bye.
I've been Bobby. Until next time on Talking Comics, to be continued.